It's a night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, plus they'll say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line before the Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts MauLer and the critical drinker.
All right, hello everyone. Cheers to you. The bar's open. Yes.
Hey, hello. Oh, those clanging glasses in chat. Beautiful.
Yeah, I hope everyone's got their glasses charged tonight because we got a big open bar tonight. We've got a full one, so it's all good. But yeah, hello everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're ready for this. We've got a whole bunch of people to bring in tonight, so I guess we start bringing the guests in, shall we? Because we've got a few to get through.
Do it
All
now.
right. First up, this is kind of a surprise guest because I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it or not, but he did, and he's here. So bring him in. It's Jeremy from Geeks Gamers. Hey, man.
Hello, guys. Look, Drinker hit me up. He's after Russell Crowe, I need a big time guest, and since Gary wasn't available, they just settled for me. So I'm as happy to be here, man, as always. And I get to talk about Mario. So Mario, Mandalorian. What a wide range that one's going to be.
That is the range of human experience, isn't it?
But it's always
like
like
about man stuff, like power tools and meat. Come on.
power tools, sports cars, but yeah, good stuff. And I've always wanted to stream with MauLer. It's been a lifelong dream. So
Yeah, man,
Finally.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you. Drinker
finally
connects
streaming with
people. That's what
Drinker
I find.
does. He's he's not as
Alcohol
toxic
also
as they
connects
say.
people.
Finally, I'm gonna one day, right? I'm gonna get you guys on with Az. I'm gonna make it happen. I know you've been looking for this for a while. I can do it.
Been
he's-
hoping to do that. He sounds
the
like a
video
really
gamer, isn't he?
Yeah,
Like
never
those video games.
and he never interrupts people on panels or nothing. He's such a So I really want to stream with that guy. But happy to be here. Thank you guys for the invite. Sincerely appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
And seriously, congratulate Russell Crowe, dude. What the hell? Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
It was
Drinker's
a-
just becoming too big of a deal for all of us now.
It was a tremendous honor for him.
Yeah.
No, it was great to have him on, man. And nice guy. And yeah, I'm glad we were able to make it happen. It was one of those things. Had to kind of keep it under wraps until it was all done, but I'm glad I was able to share it with people. So
Hell yeah, man.
yeah,
It's
all
awesome.
good. Next guest is making his long-awaited return. Is Tyrone Magnus. It's great to have you back, my friends. How you doing?
Woo!
Woo! Yeah.
Always good to join and talk with the drinker and all you about movies and television shows that we love and
media.
hate, which is funnier.
Yeah. You know what I want to do? I want to see you do a reaction video to yourself on open bar, which that'd be a great one to see.
It's a real funny clip. I'll do it. I've done it before.
We've also got Echo Chamberlain. Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, Ron. Hey, yeah. I also love the Russell Crowe interview.
Thank you very much.
To hear questions in the rich, smooth tones of the critical drinker, and then hear them answered in the even richer and smoother tones of Russell Crowe. My computer could hardly even handle it.
I could listen to that guy talk all night. He's got very, very nice voice. He should be narrating books or something as well. You know, it's good to listen to.
Those people in chat was saying that. It's like audiobooks. Come on, do it.
Yeah, he give up this acting thing. You can just do that.
Yeah,
instead.
the
It'd be
acting
nice.
thing is boring. Come on.
Yeah, I was this close to asking him about playing Zeus in Love and Thunder. I thought,
Oh God!
I'll keep the tone pleasant. You know.
I guarantee
Maybe he
you'd
loved
be
it.
like, "Oh, that was like an afternoon's work. I don't even know what that was." Like,
Yeah, they just made me stand in this big green room. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do have to
But-
say that a poll has descended over YouTube and the internet ever since your reconfiguration means we can't see the critical doggos anymore. So I have to be
I
the people's
know.
advocate for that.
I am sorry. I need
Does
to
it
get
connect
like I need to get a second webcam set up, just like pointed at them, like sleeping over in the corner. Like we just get the critical
Mirror.
doggo's input.
mirror
Just for
the
their half hourly moving onto their bellies to expose their genitals is something that
Yeah, used to be a real highlight of the stream for people.
Yeah.
I think they were more interested in that than me babbling on. You know.
yeah. But thanks for having me on. It's great. I just had to put down my power tools that I was chopping up my meat with, just so I could.
Wow, what can you do? A real man just tears meat apart with his bare hands, you know. We've also got Disparu coming in at some point, but he's a little bit delayed because I think he's on another stream right now, so we will see him shortly, I guess.
That is the typical situation these days for all of us. It's like, I'll be streaming. I'm on a stream after a stream before a stream, though.
It's the nature of the bar as well. People come and go, you know, so it's part of the fun.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
But, well, without any further ado, because I know some of us, again, on the subject of other streams that we have to get to, some have to leave quicker than others, so I'll just dive right into the first one. The Mandalorian. Everyone's been loving that recently, haven't they? Season 3 has really showcased what this show is all about. And, wow, there's interesting ratings information about it as well. Apparently, the Mandalorian Nielsen ratings drop nearly 40%. So, according to this one from Cosmic Book News, The Mandalorian's rating has seen a big drop of nearly 40% from the Season 2 finale until the Season 3 premiere. And I'm guessing that trend has only continued over the course of the series because, my God, it's been terrible. You guys probably know better than I do because I checked out after episode 3 or 4.
Join me on the Mandalorian hate train.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of this season. I'm not watching any Disney Star Wars at this point in time, and I enjoyed a lot of the Mandalorian in the first season and into the second season too. But after I didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, I didn't watch Bad Batch. I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi because my wonderful audience asked me to. Thank you for that, audience.
Cruel.
And that might be the worst thing Disney Star Wars is. That was awful. But so I haven't seen Mandalorian season 3, and I'm not going to. But I have seen a couple of these clips, and this whole Jack Black Lizzo thing, which by the way, I don't know why Lizzo is famous. I don't know who she is. I don't know what she's done. I guess she's a singer from what I've been told. I can't name a song. So don't do that to me. Don't put that evil on me, Tyrone Magnus. But yeah, this is embarrassing for Disney. This is their flagship too.
When we were watching it, Rags was like, what's Lizzo? What is that? I was like, I don't know, Google it. And he was like, flutist? Flutist? What? I don't understand. And I was like, I don't know either.
The only time I've seen her mentioned was that picture of her getting on a private jet because she was going to do her thing for global warming. And she was wearing what I can only describe as a bikini or something. But a lot of it had disappeared into her as far as I could tell. And it was horrific.
Listen, I'll tell you in short. If you don't know, she's I think she's a rapper, and she is the one that came at Chris Hemsworth in his DMs or something.
Really?
She came at him, wanted a relationship or something like that. From what
Talk about punching above your weight. I mean, I don't mean that quite literally, of course, but
she twerked.
Ridiculous.
She twerked in some thong at a basketball game, which is the first thing that blew her up besides being a rapper. So,
jeez.
Yeah.
I think food blew her up.
I heard that. God. But the fact is if you watch that clip, and I think Raging Rhino actually put that on Twitter, and I saw everybody sharing it, but that was and Chris Gore did a great job. He clipped out a screenshot of it. He says SNL is crushing it these days. Just a screenshot of Lizzo and Jack Black and Mandalorian, because that's what it looked like. It looked like an SNL skit, and unfortunately, that was apparently a prominent scene in the most recent episode of The Mandalorian.
Well, so
it looked like what you'd expect from an SNL skit. It's like two actors who barely comprehend what they're supposed to be doing against a really bad green screen in horrible costumes with horrible hair and makeup. Going through lines that don't make any sense, and it just... How did Star Wars get to this? How did this become what Star Wars is supposed to be?
I guess they're just finishing it up now in terms of killing it. They just the whole corpse was incinerated, and they're just like, there's a few bits left we can probably chop off and crush. There we go.
Yeah.
Mandalorian, he's been destroyed.
Well, Lizzo has 3 Grammy Awards. So between that and MILF Manor, I think it's like that, that scene in Top Gun Maverick where they do that death spiral maneuver. It's kind of that's Western culture and civilization at the moment.
Who's going to pull up first? I don't think anyone is really just going to crash right into the ground.
With that part of entertainment, especially in movies or TV shows where they have someone on that isn't an actor or isn't normally an actor. And it's clear that it's for the star power.
Yeah.
But there's something that's when the star power isn't enough to make that TV show or movie good, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like Lizzo she stuck out like a sore thumb. I think she's new, you know what I mean, to acting. A lot of people were saying, and like people were complaining about it a while ago, but they were like, yeah, these different singers or rappers make these cameos in movies, but they're clearly not seasoned actors. So you got all these other actors around them that are really good. You can tell they're new. It pulls me out. You know what I mean?
And that's the whole thing is like Star Wars is all about immersion. And it's about taking you to a galaxy far, far away. Disparu got a haircut. What the fuck? I haven't seen him since he got a haircut.
Isn't it? It's like you've lost a fight with a lawn. I had a remarkable amount of people commenting about how I'd lost a fight with a lawnmower. Like, that was my line. You can't have other people making my jokes. Then I just like, what am I supposed to say?
If only Ryan Johnson subverted expectations like Disparu did, that would have been
No, like, the first video I made, I didn't even say it, I just launched into the video. I had 50% more comments, and all of them were just about my hair. Like, it's more than normal. I just completely split opinion on it.
Disparu, you saw Mando, right? You died watching it, I assume?
Yeah, I was going to cover Gotham Knights and Mandalorian, and then they both arrived on the same day. I'm like, I'm done with Mando. This is an easy choice. And the weird thing is, what surprised me, more people, at least on my channel, are interested in watching Gotham Knights than Star Wars.
And I'm the only other person here who will even know what you're talking about when it comes to Gotham Knights. My brother in pain.
As far as I understand it, it makes for really good review fodder. It's just the Batgirl of... Batwoman of the current year. It's just the same level of garbage.
You should check
you
out the
can tell the quality
Owls.
of the crap by how long my videos are. And Gotham Knights is longer than the actual episode, whereas Mandalorian, I'm like, it's about half the size. So
when we're talking about Mandalorian here, it's so many people I think have followed my example and your example and other people and just checked out of it completely. It's like I've got to the point where I just don't feel anything for it now. It's just a dead show walking. There's nothing remotely interesting about it anymore. Gary just did a great video about it, just describing the ridiculous fetch quest nature of it. It's very obvious that it's become the Bo-Katan show with a special guest appearance by Mando occasionally.
Yeah,
that was the interesting thing, because I love data and graphs and everything, and it's like every other series, the first episode gets a bump. Doesn't matter what it is, people want to tune in to see what it's like. Mandalorian, dead. The entire way, people will watch the third episode as many watch the first. Nobody cared. So they're either interested in just watching it burn, or they just don't care about it enough to even watch any video on it at all.
Yeah. We just covered an article there talking about the ratings have dropped 40% apparently from the season 2 finale to the season 3 premiere, and that's the premiere of the season. Like you would assume it's only going to go downhill from there. Like there are going to be a lot of people that will tune in for that first episode, like you say, and then they gradually fall off after that. Nobody cares about this show anymore.
Yeah, it's just not there.
Finish up on talking about cameos. In retrospect, with Game of Thrones, maybe the tipping point was when they had that ginger-haired singer douchebag guy around the campfire.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that the turning point in retrospect?
This is when I realized that I didn't know anything about like current pop culture, I guess, but I didn't know who he was when he was in Game of Thrones. That's when I was introduced to who he was. And then I find out he's got like billions of views on, like YouTube, and he's this international megastar. I'm like, holy shit, I know nothing about what's going on in this world, apparently, because I didn't know who he was. But I saw there was so much of a reaction to his appearance in Game of Thrones when that happened.
I think it's just one of those things that's very obviously like a stunt. It just takes you right out of the show because you can't see it. It's not like he's an actor, and so you can't really see him be anything but Ed Sheeran. And you know, I don't know if maybe he's more of a British thing than an American thing, and that's maybe why you're not like so familiar with him. But yeah, over here it's just like he went through a phase, particularly back then, where he had like a #1 hit like every few weeks it seemed like, and you just couldn't get away from him. And so the last thing people wanted was to see him in their escapist fantasy show.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like, just fuck off, Ed Sheeran. We're done with you.
Well, this is the thing. You had like Spider-Man: No Way Home, which was a massive success and it brought people back. And I think Hollywood looks at these things and they learn the wrong lesson. They didn't look at it as if, oh, well, if we make good movies, people will see it. They saw, if we bring people back from the past, they'll love them. They'll love all these people that they just recognize from other places. And so Ed Sheeran, does he fit in the universe? No, but, you know, maybe he'll pull people
famous.
in. And
The thing is,
with Mandalorian.
This kind of thing has been done before. Like I remember Star Trek: The Next Generation. They'd have guest appearances by like guys like Stephen Hawking was in an episode as a little cameo, but that was like it was something that enhanced an already good show. You know, a show that was already doing well. They weren't doing it as a stunt to try and drum up some interest. But when you have Lizzo and you have Jack Black make a guest appearance in The Mandalorian, it feels like we're literally out of ideas here. This is creative rock bottom. This is the only thing we can think of that might generate some interest. Is like, we'll just get these random celebrities in.
They're supposed to incorporate them. That's how good cameos go. A lot of the time, you like one of my favorite cameos of all time has got to be, if it counts as a cameo, that is Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder, right? You couldn't argue for a more.
He was integral, MauLer. Integral.
He was integrated. You couldn't even fucking tell it was him. A lot of people didn't even know. That's what I get. What I guess I'm getting at is like this. The kind of shit they're doing in Mando now is like, look, it's person you recognize in a sterile, isolated area that they clearly arrived for the day, got into makeup, and didn't matter if it matches anything else. The fucking color scheme, everything because this plot line is absolutely fucking bizarre. I don't know if we're gonna talk about it. We can. But I was gonna say, like, you look at like other elements, even Christopher Lloyd, man, he had, I think, 3 scenes, and you know, they're all just awkwardly sputtering out lines and just being like, I just want to go home. The worst part, of course, was when they like unmask him. That's the clip that's going around that everyone's making fun of. I say unmask. It feels like a Scooby-Doo end of episode moment where they're like, no, old man Winkleton, how could you possibly be the one that did it? And he's like, I would have gotten away with it. These meddling bounty hunters. It was fucking cringe, and I don't know what the hell's happening. Because even I'll concede something's gone wrong. I didn't even like season 1 and 2 that much, but season 3, something ain't right. And it's funny, Drinker, because when we were doing, I think, the last catch-up or whatever, you said you'd stopped and that you assume the trajectory is the Bo-Katan's going to take over. Have you seen the final shot of the episode?
I've had it summarized by Gary, so I'm just going to go with that. Does she not get given the Darksaber, and so she's now leading a band of Mandalorians?
Just send an image there for you. That's the latest shot of the show The Mandalorian, starring The Mandalorian. Come on, it's perfect.
That's it. Yeah. Well, it's the only thing that's missing is for him to be like kneeling before her.
Give it time.
His hands on the floor.
Because that's what it's coming down to. Yeah. Like, because she's allowed to take her helmet off now, isn't she? Because she's special.
And she can remain on the way, or whatever the fuck it means, while also taking it. She's the only one because she's special.
I mean, this is just
a dinosaur.
It's so transparent, isn't it? It's like the moment she showed up, you just knew they're gonna make her the centerpiece of the show, because of course they fucking have to, because it's Star Wars, it's Lucasfilm
It's Disney
now.
Star Wars. Well, I said this earlier about it, and like, look, if you're enjoying Disney Star Wars for whatever reason, God bless you. Okay, go for it. That's fine.
And also, what is wrong with you?
I'm just telling you, hey, that's great. But for, I would say, the majority of people out there that might be watching this with the hopes that it's going to get better, it's dead. It's not going to get better ever. There's no scenario where Star Wars gets better without some crazy situation where they publicly fire her and shame her like they did Gina, which is never going to happen. They're not firing Kathleen Kennedy. It's just not going to happen. She's going to be able to walk away celebrated as this iconic female producer in Hollywood. That's what's going to happen. And then you still have the remnants of Kathleen Kennedy's Lucasfilm there. It's never, ever, ever going to improve, at least for the foreseeable future. For the next 5 to 10 years.
I'm holding out hope for
I think
too, okay?
I think even like, removing her isn't going to make much difference anyway. Like the bigger problem is all of the people beneath her, like the Lucasfilm story group, all of the ridiculously untalented like directors and writers and stuff that she's brought in. They haven't like infested Lucasfilm. All of them are going to have to go in order for Star Wars to improve. Like simply getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy isn't going to make that much difference. Yeah, she can greenlight projects and stuff, and my God, she has announced like how many movies and TV shows has she announced that have just never come to fruition, and we're never going to see.
I think we're in double digits at this point.
Yeah, I've lost track.
Ryan Johnson's trilogy is happening any day now, so I don't know what you're talking about. Any day.
But yeah, the point being though that just getting rid of her isn't going to be enough. There has to be a wholesale like cleaning of house at Lucasfilm,
we need an Elon Musk Twitter situation where the person that comes and takes over Lucasfilm has to walk in there and basically just clean house, and that includes. And as much as people know I'm a fan of a lot of Filoni's older stuff, Filoni needs to be fired. Favreau needs to be fired. They all need to be fired. Every single person at Lucasfilm that has any influence whatsoever from a creative standpoint needs to be fired.
I'm very glad you feel that way.
That's the only way that this improves. And it's not, and that's why I say that there is no realistic scenario where this actually does improve. There's no realistic scenario.
For me, Kathleen Kennedy is like if Admiral Ozzel hadn't been choked out and died, and instead had been allowed to go on for another 10 years of incompetence unchecked. So that's my analogy for her.
I need to know who's really making the final decision, because, like, if you're a wrestling fan, like
I am,
exactly,
anyway,
that there's a whole lot of people on creative.
Yes.
But it all goes through Vince.
Vince is the end of discussion.
Decision?
Yep.
That's what I want to know. Is it several people or is it one? Like, who truly needs to have their job?
Well, that's the thing. Favreau and Filoni do not escape the blame at this point. They've been like promoting the shit out of this, talking about how much they have control over this, that, and the other, and they seem to be very proud of not only the individual stories that they're doing, individual pieces of dialogue, scenes, and stuff, but Filoni's characters, man. Well, I blame. What is he doing? He's dragging them through and making them more important than everyone else.
When I officially checked out, and again, I guess I have to admit that I did have to watch Kenobi because my wonderful audience voted. 90% of you asked me to watch Kenobi, but I checked out when they fired Gina, and I said at that time that was the point where I, as a old school Filoni fan, I was like, I have to hold him accountable for her firing, just like Favreau, because they were obviously close with her. They obviously liked her. They obviously talked her up. And then when she was fired, no one had her back. None of them had her back. And it's like how she was fired and why she was fired is unacceptable. When you see the rest of Lucasfilm and their employees spewing their left-wing stuff, and I said at the time, hey, if they're going to let Gina say what Gina's, and Gina didn't even say anything that bad, but by the standard in which is offensive, they thought what she said was the worst thing ever. But she didn't say anything overly controversial. It's just that it was widely different from what we normally see from Lucasfilm. But I'm like, if they're going to allow Gina to say what she says and have her opinions, then I have to at least go, okay, you got the left-wing opinions, and now you've kind of got someone that kind of goes against that. And if you're at least going to let everyone have their opinions, I'm going to sit back and just accept it, even though I don't want anybody talking politics at these companies. And then they fired her and shamed her. And I'm like, this company has been compromised, and it's not just Kathleen Kennedy anymore. It's everybody. Everyone.
Well, that's the issue you get when you get a corporate culture, because then your HR starts hiring people who back up that corporate culture. And you had the same thing at Twitter, like you say. The issue you've got is if you hire people for a certain reason, when you start to fire them, it's a very reasonable argument that you fired them for that same reason. Now, Elon pulled a thing where he's like, we're going to be working incredibly hard. If you don't like it, leave. And so he was left with just the hardest workers. I was like, I don't want to be here. The issue you've got with Disney is, especially as far as I know, a lot of them are located in California. You've got loads of governmental kind of regulation and everything. You have to fire everyone. Like over here, if you want to fire someone, it's like first warning, second warning, third warning. You can't just fire people for no reason. Otherwise, they can bring lawsuits against you. It's far harder to get rid of people than it is to actually hire them in the first place. And so if you've been filling an entire company with people that back up a certain point of view, I don't think getting rid of them and like cleaning houses is as simple as it is getting them in the first place. And I do agree that the people in charge should be the ones carrying the can, But if you've hired everyone underneath you who all back up that idea, you can have anyone in charge. They can only select from what they're given. And I think you.
Sorry, continue.
I think you kind of walk yourself into a scenario where let's say you wanted to clean house, every single project they've worked on has come through those people. It's still going to have the same ideas, and you're either going to have to start from scratch and have a load of period where you're not actually producing anything, or just take a load of the same projects where you're desperately trying to fix something that can't be fixed.
I think Warner Brothers is probably the model for how you handle this sort of thing, or it's not the best way perhaps, but it's how they're doing it. Where you bring in a guy like David Zaslav, he pretty much cleans house, cancels a bunch of projects. The ones that are too far along in the pipeline, the mentality is pretty much we have to just get these out, take the hit short term, and then we can get on to the stuff that we want to do. And that's I guess how you have to approach it with something like Lucasfilm. I mean, my God, they don't seem to have anything on the go in terms of movies anyway, so you're not losing out on much there. You've got a bunch of like Disney streaming shows that nobody gives a shit about anyway that aren't going to generate revenue for the company. So whether or not they get made, who cares? The best way to do it, and perhaps this is Iger's plan, if you can do this under the guise of redundancies rather than firings, it becomes a lot easier to get rid of people. Because then you're saying, right, we're not firing you because you're crap at your job. It's like, well, we're downsizing the company. Here's your 30 days notice. Sorry, we're going to have to let you go.
We're just actually dying, that's all.
Yeah. But then it lets you get rid of a whole bunch of people at the same time, perhaps like people who have been particularly troublesome and who you don't want around anymore. And you can do it relatively easily because you're not refilling their positions. You're just, making them obsolete. That might be what he's trying to do. I don't know. Maybe he's not that smart.
I saw the video clip for the High Republic, like a promotional piece for it, and I just saw the footage of all the writers. Just the biggest collection of the most benign, nice-ish people, collaboratively nice-ish people.
You described them as pussy-ish in your video. Yeah. I think that was perfect. It's like
not pussies,
not
pussy
full-on
adjacent.
pussies, but they have strong potential to be pussies.
Yeah, pussy adjacent. That's what they are. I made the point as well that the streaming content ought to be minor companion material to the films, which are the big tentpoles, and instead it's gone the other way, where you've got the streaming stuff as a flood and a deluge, and the film stuff is a trickle. So they got it round the wrong way. And I also made the point that it goes all the way back to the fact that there were no cool and interesting and enduring characters from the latest films, which means in the streaming content they had to default back to all the characters we know, so they couldn't create any new ones. And so it's almost like the same Marvel dynamic where you have the big figures, and then you slip in, the cooler, new, and more generally female characters within it. And so it's just there's nothing going on in the streaming. There's nothing new. There's nothing exciting.
Certainly not for Star Wars, and it's actually like, did we end up in the fucking worst timeline that they've actually made Star Wars this pathetic and decrepit in that amount of time too? It's incredible. Yeah. I know for a fact they must be looking back thinking, oh shit, if only we hadn't fucking hired that stupid Ryan Johnson. Because as much as we've all shot on TFA in retrospect, I still think they would have survived had they gone a JJ trilogy or Colin Trevorrow trilogy.
Yeah.
Dude, there's so many ways.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Look, as someone that was obviously on board after TFA, I don't think I think there's not one single thing you can point to it's just bad. It's all bad. Everything they're doing, there is no excuse for Kenobi to be as bad as it was, considering you had Ewan McGregor and after they learned from their mistakes. So, because you screwed up when you had Han, Luke, and Leia. You had Mark Hamill, you had Carrie Fisher, you had Harrison Ford, and you screwed it up. Okay, fine, you screwed it up, and you couldn't redo that because obviously Carrie Fisher passed away. So then you get Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor to return for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you screwed it up even worse. It's like they can't learn from anything. So there's no scenario where I think you could go, if we would have done this right thing. I just think it was always what it would have done is it probably would have lived a little bit longer and people wouldn't have, kind of
I think it would have
realized it. Yeah, but it
Well,
was always still going to go in the wrong direction.
Remember, at one point, we were going to have was it a Boba Fett movie directed by James Mangold? That would have been way better than the TV show that we got.
Yeah.
And like a Kenobi movie, I expect these things would have just been of higher quality than the absolute dipshittery we got from those TV shows. Like Solo made them panic. I think it's all a big knock-on, right? And where's the first domino? It's like it's clearly TFA, but it still feels like TLJ was the biggest domino. I don't know. Like it pushed everything.
Well, you still had a relatively unified fan base after TFA, because okay, we can look back now and say this is a pretty shit movie, but nobody was offended by it. It was just like, okay, compared to the prequels, it was fast paced and everyone's really young and excitable and all that stuff. And there's like some decent like action scenes. Okay, it does the job. It's not very imaginative, but maybe we needed a bit of predictability after the prequels, and you could have built on it. I guess that's the difference. And whatever you put out after that, the fan base would have been willing to give it a try. The problem is what you put out was TLJ. And after that, like so many people were soured on Star Wars, it was just a no-win scenario. There's really nothing they could have made out of the third movie that would have won people back. Not enough of them anyway.
You remember how many fan theories spawned after The Force Awakens?
Yeah.
I mean, we were like alive with
Yep.
fan theories. We were like, just, oh man, this could go in so many different directions. We were excited at the possibilities. But then when they showed you where they were going, it was like, oh my god!
It created the illusion that there was intelligence behind this, and that they had a plan. That there was some great mystery to unravel. When you opened that mystery box, there was going to be something really exciting inside it. And as it turns out, there was just a big steaming turd that Rian Johnson had put there. And after that, the mystery box was empty, and so JJ had nothing to work with. And he's not the most imaginative guy in the world, so he had nothing he could do.
He had to mop up as well. Remember, there was like, hey, how about some holdo maneuvers? And he has a character with ADR say, nah, that's 1 in a million, you can't do that. It's like, ooh.
The best part is JJ comes in after TLJ, and we're like, oh, he's like, I'm gonna fix this. You made a worse film than TLJ. Like, I think Rise of Skywalker's worse than The Last Jedi. It maybe not be as offensive because of where we're, but I think Rise of Skywalker is just it's a worse film than The Last Jedi. I think it is horrendous.
I seen it once, and that was when I saw it in the cinema, and I've never watched it since then. And I'm very cool with that fact.
That is a bad movie.
But I don't think he came. I don't think he came in like brimming with confidence, thinking, "Yeah, I can fix this." I think he was like forced back to do it. I think he was either given a ton of money or he was like threatened with severe career consequences, and reluctantly came back like, oh, "I'll give it a shot, I guess," but no promises, man. And
I don't know, horses on a spaceship.
Jesus Christ.
It's like you can imagine him like storming around the room, like, what have we got? We've done Death Stars already. What have we got? Star Destroyers? That's not very intimidating. Well, let's have 10,000 Star Destroyers with a Death Star cannon attached to every one of them. Fine, go with it. We don't have time. Go.
I love the idea that in the boardroom, KK's like, what have you got for me? And he's like, okay. So Palpatine, and she's like, yeah. You're like, he died. Yeah. He's like, well, what if like he didn't? And just wait. She's leaving the room. He's like, wait. No, seriously, it's gonna be great. We'll bring back the original actor. It'll be great. People will love it.
Thing is, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy would even understand the implications of that. I think she'd be like, what do you mean he was dead in the first place? Like,
see, my
she
joke
just wouldn't get it.
My joke has layers. She was actually leaving the room. She was like, yeah, whatever, fine.
Okay.
I picture it the other way, that they started off with that as just like a stupid idea, and everyone in the writers' room said, no, that's ridiculous. And then as time got closer and closer to the deadline, they had nothing else. They went, okay, we'll go back to that. We'll do that. That's fine.
They put it in. It's like that's our placeholder. If we can't think of anything, they'll do for now until we fill it in. And it's like they never did fill it in with anything else.
They're like Palpatine in the middle of a whiteboard. There's a couple of ideas like dinosaurs, time travel, Palpatine, fuck it.
It's interesting, and it ties into the Rings of Power thing, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But from the THR article there, it seems like the head person can make decisions, and everyone around them is thinking, this is a terrible idea. This won't work. This is going to be an absolute disaster. And when they tell them, yeah, I'll do whatever you say. So... Yeah. Every single person in the company be like, I don't know why any of us are doing this. No one will like this. And then they just continue because everyone's so scared to actually tell this person the truth because of the power that they hold. And so I went from being, I don't know why any of this is happening, to I completely understand. And I'd even go as far as saying it's not just the people that need to change. The entire corporation of Hollywood needs to change their idea that just because you're the head person doesn't mean that people can't tell you you're wrong. You actually need people to contradict you because that's how you get to the best place, rather than just having one person who is essentially like the god of whatever's being made.
Yeah,
Hey, listen, I've done small independent projects, with my acting, and I've seen it on set where certain things are supposed to go a certain way, and people in creative that have say are like, "Yo, let's do this. Listen, this isn't really going to work," and then the person with the real say just says, "No, this is the way I want it done." The actors, the other, it's just like, and you just go. You're already being paid, and you just do it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I really want to know who's responsible for some of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Listen to this clip I'm going to show you guys. So I've played this on many streams, and this is the funniest thing ever. So the title of the video is Kathleen Kennedy thinks George Lucas is dead. Listen to what she says. Okay, listen to this. All right. Now let me remind you that George Lucas gave them a sequel trilogy outline, and they threw it away. So you got to share my screen.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay, and so right here, listen to what Kathleen Kennedy says right here.
There isn't a day that goes by or went by as we were making a movie where we don't talk about George. It's the standard. What would George do? One of the things.
He gave you a sequel trilogy outline. He's right. You could call him at any moment in time. You have his phone number.
I'm right here.
What would George do?
He gave you everything.
It's like peering through the window. Hello.
Yes,
I'm not dead.
And then they said, "Let's do the opposite."
Dude, it's like when Mark Hamill in some of the interviews was like, I would have notes and ideas, and Ryan would just tell me, "No, go away, it's fine, don't worry about it." Like, and KK would tell him to fuck off. It's just like, yeah. Out one ear and the other.
I mean, this is the same woman who said, like, "Oh man, it's not like we had books or anything to work from, like that would give us ideas for expanded universes and stuff." It's like,
guys, I got a question. What do you think made Mark Hamill go forward with doing a Luke Skywalker that he didn't agree with? Because he said, "I fundamentally disagree with the direction you're going with this character."
Was it contractually?
Yeah, breach of contract lawsuits would be it. Yeah. I mean, if it was me, I would have said, like, look, I'm gonna you try and make me do this, I'm gonna suffer from a sudden case of depression or back problems or something, and I'm not gonna be able to perform the lines that you need me to do.
Because we have Mark Hamill. I don't like Mark Hamill as a dude. I think he's a psychopath when it comes to. Just go look at his Twitter account. He's a crazy person.
Really?
But my god, bro, he's insane.
You don't have to scroll far.
He's insane, but
he's quite political.
separate of that, Mark Hamill's not like Harrison Ford. He's not an A-list celebrity. So you get a paycheck from Star Wars, you're gonna take a paycheck from Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's not like he has the pick of the litter. Harrison Ford, he can do whatever he wants, but Mark Hamill doesn't have that pull.
When it comes to Star Wars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I figure he has more pull than Harrison just coming to that series. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I think because he was integral to that movie. Yeah, obviously, I don't know. They can't put a gun to his head and force him to go on set and say the lines, but
right.
I guess it's going to be breach of contract lawsuits that you would be facing, and they could potentially ruin it. But then what would come public is like, what they were essentially forcing him to do. They would have to say like, well, this is the script that we needed him to perform, and he wouldn't do it. How horrendous would that look for the studio? So it would potentially become a hugely embarrassing situation for everyone. But I think ultimately they could force him to do it, at least financially.
You got to keep in mind as well, to some degree, a lot of actors will be like, man, this seems like a bad thing, but, sometimes we make these movies and then everyone's happy. So I don't know, I guess maybe I'm the crazy one in this scenario. Maybe I'm not getting it when you're filled with like this whole series of people who are very happy and making jokes and making the work. But then there's also the fact that he famously said, like, he was convinced to come on once Harrison did. And so
maybe when he was swigging the green titty milk, that wasn't him acting. That was just his pissed off snide expression.
I mean, I can
They
honestly
spiked
say
it.
like the behind the scenes footage of like him talking to Ryan, like all those scenes, he just looks like a broken man. He looks so fucking down and depressed. And it's like
Ryan's
you
doing
have
his
to,
little laugh.
yeah. And you just have to, because it's funny. Like from what I understand, the production on TLG went relatively smoothly. Like I'll say that at least
everyone's
about.
happy and had good things to say about each other.
But I imagine Mark Hamill just like being off on his own between takes, just not wanting to talk to anyone. It's just like, no, I just want to get this done so I can leave.
There's so much passive aggression from him, and I can only imagine that's a result of he signed on expecting something, and then he read the script and he was like, oh shit. He even said that was his experience reading the TFA script. He was like, where am I? When do I do stuff?
He shows up like Willow at the end of the first episode.
The first TFA, the original drafts was written by the guy that wrote Toy Story 3. I can't remember his name right now. And you can look this up. You can find this on Google from Variety or whatever. But the first script, basically, Luke was a prominent figure in it. And Lucasfilm executive stepped in and said that Luke Skywalker was taking too much attention from the new characters when he was in the scenes. That is a quote. And they got rid of that screenwriter. And JJ and Lawrence Kasdan came in and kind of reworked all of it because Luke was taking too much attention from the new characters. That is a quote. Think about that.
Well, and we can,
Luke and Vader like really are the series. You know what I mean? And it's like saying we can't have Optimus Prime in this too much. He's taken away from too much of the new all.
He's taken away from Shield.
He's Prime. He is the series. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I think you have to look at where the actor's power is, because they have power in the negotiation right up until they sign the contract. The moment they sign that, they're owned by the company. You have to do whatever you're told. And how many times have we heard from like various authors where they're like, so they wanted me to do this, and I didn't like it, but I gave way, and then they gave way again, and and by the end they end up with something which nothing like their original book or text they actually wanted. And so, go on, I was supposed to finish.
Sorry. I was gonna say that did Mark Hamill not sign on before Disney bought over Lucasfilm as well? Like I'm sure he signed on when it was still under George Lucas. Like it was way back. It was like 2011 or something.
Yeah, he could have been tied into a pre-agreement that him and George had already made for the sequels, and then of course George signed over the sequel trilogy outline that he was working on, and then they revamped everything.
Because that is tragic. Because imagine that, like he signed on under the pretense that he was going to potentially be doing sequels under George Lucas's outline for the sequels, like thinking he was going to do a completely different story. Lucasfilm gets bought over by Disney, and suddenly he's handed this absolute fucking garbage of a storyline that he has to then perform. Like that is awful. Like it's not like he even agreed to it. Then it's just like he was forced into doing something he had no clue what he was signing up for.
Exactly. I would man, if I ever make it big, there's no way I would let Luke is woven into the fabric of pop culture. There is no way a character that big that I represent, I would let them destroy. They'd have to do it without me. They'd have to recast it. There's no way.
They would have told him over and over again, no, this is celebrating him. This is respecting him. Trust us. This is doing amazing things for him.
They offered him some money. And he didn't look at the fine print. Something happened. You know what I mean?
I mean, dude, he spent so much of his press tour complaining, and not just like a lot of it. He was complaining in loads of different ways with every single interview. You find the funniest quotes from him. One of my favorites being the they had time for drinking milk, but they didn't have time for emotion.
Well, they cut that scene of him mourning the death of Han, didn't they?
That's what he's talking about specifically.
Yeah.
Well, let's think in the contract, he's probably got a non-disparagement clause. So any message he has to give has to be non-disparagement. That has to be interpreted.
You can tell the point where the Lucasfilm people, like when they had a quick phone call with him, because it's like, instantly it turned around and he was like nothing but positive about the movie. Like overnight, he went from like straight up, I disagreed with everything Ryan did, to, wow, he did a great movie. It was fantastic. I'm really pleased with how this turned out.
And I sincerely regret making any negative comments in relation to this event.
Can I share my a thing that's always pissed me off about the most recent trilogy, which is in the first one you had the stormtroopers were bumbling idiots, but in the officer class they were different. They were imperious, they were kind of clipped and autocratic, and they actually felt like bad guys because it felt like the type of dispassionate people who were actually kind of competent you would find in an actual autocracy. So it had that tension to it. Whereas in the new trilogy, they made the officer class bumbling idiots as well. So
I can wait.
The antagonists all sucked.
I want to go to bat for the stormtroopers a slight bit, okay? The grand total of the OT review, when they attack on the Tantive ship, they're really good. When they attack in the Death Star, they're missing, but they're missing on purpose. You got to remember, they're not allowed to kill the targets. They got to make them feel like they're escaping. Remember, it was all a trap set by Vader. So they're clear in A New Hope, except maybe in Tatooine. I'd have to rewatch it. Empire, real good in Hoth. Not so good in Bespin.
Pretty good in Hoth. Yeah.
Not so good in Bespin. They're missing every single shot in Bespin. It's like, eh. And then Return of the Jedi. Less said about that, the better. Let's just move on. There's this mixed bag with Stormtrooper prowess in the OT, but in the sequel trilogy and everything Disney have touched, they made it canon that they literally recognize that they can't aim. The Stormtroopers are like, wow, look, we can't shoot at anything. It's like, oh, God.
Was that Taika who did that?
Yes.
Is Return of the Jedi still the biggest tonal mishmash of going from hyper intense Shakespearean drama in the throne room to little Ewoks throwing spears at stormtroopers? Like that's as big as you can get tonally shifting.
That's a bit weird, yeah.
Because I think you have to make allowances when it comes to enemies. Like you can look at any Bond film. When the enemies are shooting at him, they miss. So I will have some kind of leeway that you can't really hit the guy, but you've still got to shoot at him. But when you start writing it down as canon that these people are just pathetic, it's like, well, you've also shown us where the moment somebody fails Vader, he kills them. So how bad can these people actually be to have survived this long in the first place?
Yeah.
Do you remember
that
when
fourth wall
Kylo
break fan service thing? You know.
Do you remember that guy in Rise of Skywalker was like, but what does Palpatine want if he's giving you this army of Star Destroyers? And Kylo just strangles him.
For asking valid questions.
It's the most reasonable question. It's about leverage. Kylo, you fucking moron.
Is Bill Burr in the third series of The Mandalorian?
No.
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
I wonder if
an Irish comedian in a science fiction show was.
Well, he's said some not questionable things, but he's said some things that go against the message, like in his stand-up and shit. And I just think like he's not going to be welcomed back with open arms necessarily.
I bet they're 50-50 with it every time. They're probably like, oh, this guy, this fucking guy. Even though he's kind of the highlight every time he turns up, it's just fun.
Yeah,
seeing Bill Burr riff on the Star Wars universe.
Well, I mean, it's cool because they actually did give his character a little bit more bit more depth in season 2. Like it felt weird, like they just did it because it's Bill Burr, but you know, okay, fair enough.
It'd be nice if we got
imagine it from his perspective though. It's like, I'm Bill Burr, what am I doing in Star Wars? It's like I just stand on stage and tell jokes and here I am.
I think
that's probably the reaction of everyone in Star Wars at the moment. Like, what am I doing here? I don't know. Ewan McGregor had that look about him. Why am I in this Kenobi show?
There was that Scottish comedian who had like a pink beard for what I think it was in The Last Samurai, and he says, all I do, I'm like a stand-up comic. How did I end up in a movie about samurais riding across a battlefield on horseback? This is the strangest path in my career I've found.
Billy
Connolly.
I'd love to see him tear Star Wars a new one. I feel like he would do a good job with it.
Yeah.
Drinker, Billy Connolly once talked about a specific type of Glaswegian old gent, and he said they had that particular thing where it's a wee bit breathy, you know, when they
yeah.
Those people still exist.
Hi, I'm doing no bad, son.
See, normally I would have been.
There's guys like that.
Oh, that's great.
Those are guys that have smoked like 50 a day for like the past like several decades. So yeah, they end up like that. Yeah. But man, I mean, well, that's the state of Mandalorian, I guess. That's what we have to live with.
That's your
right now.
regular update on Star Wars' death. It's still dead. Give it a few more years before we get a movie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you can't even say, well, this is the final nail in the coffin. Like the coffin's already buried in the ground and it's decomposed to the point where it's just soil now. And like, somehow still we're here.
You tilt up the carpet every once in a while, just like, how's it do? Yeah, still smells. Yeah, oof.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what, if anything, they could possibly announce, like movie-wise, that anyone's going to care about.
I swear to God, if they say we're doing a new trilogy, Rey is the main character, it'll be like, oh God.
Directed by Rian Johnson.
Honestly, that might be the only thing they can do to get me back to start roasting it again. If you give me Rian Johnson's trilogy with Rey as the lead, I might start watching them again so I can roast, because that is going to be, that'd be a disaster.
Poor Daisy Ridley. Because I feel kind of bad for her, because as far as I understand, she's not a bad person or anything. She's just been caught up in this horrifying nightmare of career suicide that is Star Wars, and oh man,
I feel
she's not
especially
really
bad for
didn't know what she was getting into.
Oscar Isaac and well, kind of all of them, right? Because John Boyega too. Like they all, there was so much potential, so much.
Yeah.
The fan base consistently says like, fix fucking Finn, undo the mess you gave him. Everyone was happy to see him become a Jedi from a Stormtrooper. That would have been a really cool idea, but oh well.
Oh.
I mean, 20 years from now, if you're going to a Comic-Con or a convention and there's like 45-year-old Daisy Ridley, is anyone going to be queuing up, to see that? I don't think so.
Hell yeah.
Well,
I'd be like, wasn't that sequel trilogy shit?
It's like you waited in line for an hour just to say that to her. Like, yeah, it's worth it. This is it. Like, I mean, you can take pretty much anyone from anywhere and they'll know who Luke Skywalker is, or they'll know who Darth Vader is. But like, yeah, a few years from now, who's going to remember Rey Skywalker, or who's going to remember Finn or Poe Dameron?
Yeah,
They're really not. Like those characters haven't made a cultural impact. No. And for all the money that Force Awakens made, it didn't do anything artistically that anyone cares about or anyone's going to remember.
No. A lot of it was based on what was going to happen next. People, even at the time, were saying stuff like that. It's like, oh, I can't wait to see how these stories, what they become, so we can look back and see how all the things were set up. Nobody's really talking about the payoffs in The Force Awakens. I remember people saying, like, oh, wasn't it amazing? Like, Han was betrayed by his son. It's like, you understand, that's the only scene they share screen time in the entirety of the movie. Like, I feel like we didn't get much to understand what was even happening there. He just kills him. You're like, ugh. And of course, there's way more to that, to why it pissed off fans. But I think what's so fascinating is they've tried this all over the place, right? The whole strategy of classic character, legacy character. They're in a scene with the new character, and they point at them and go, "You're an awesome character." We've seen now that it does not work. You can't keep trying this. It doesn't work. Because they did it with like all the heroes in Marvel as well, right? But with Star Wars, it's like, yeah, all that effort to crush down the originals and squeeze the juice out of them and put it into our new characters. Nobody wants to see anything to do with them. So hopefully now they can sort of start piecing together like, oh, we probably should have just made the films about them. That probably would have been a good idea.
Yeah.
Remember when Chris Hemsworth had to like stand next to Brie Larson and be like, "I like this one."
Yep.
And like the question on everyone's lips was, "Why?
Why?
Like, what do you like?" Like, there's nothing
She
there.
showed some spunk. She kind of stood up to him, remember?
Yeah, it's like she didn't flinch. That's what happens when you've got a CGI hammer flying by you and you literally don't even know what's happening on screen. Like,
that was like inches away from Punish Thor as well. That was like the last we saw in that scene. It was almost gone. Then Fat Thor arrived.
Fat Thor, yeah. But like when I talked about like cultural impact as well, just to draw a comparison, like Avatar 2 is probably another example, and even the first movie really. It made insane amounts of money, both of them, and yet nobody talks about them in the slightest. Nobody remembers them, really. Like, you ask anyone about those films, the best they can say is like, well, they look nice. They had some nice scenery, I guess. That's it. But it's like, isn't that interesting, though? Like, for the crazy amounts of money and the crazy numbers of people that have obviously seen these films, they have made zero impact on anyone who's actually watched them.
I feel like more of an experience than watching a movie. Correct? Is that where? You know what I mean? It's different. Like,
well, if it's something that gets to you emotionally, I guess, or just really moves you in some way, you're going to want to talk about it, and you'll remember it because it was impactful. That's an important thing, and like I guess for all of us, the original Star Wars movies did have that impact, and they had that legacy to them. They made a cultural impact because they got to so many people. The new ones, yeah, especially the TFA, a lot of people saw it. A lot of people saw Avatar and Avatar 2, but nobody really remembers them, and they didn't influence culture in any way.
Yeah.
They just were a brightly colored thing that a lot of people saw and then forgot about.
I don't know.
I think
Like Avatar's
impact,
a weird one.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Echo.
Oh, I was just saying that impact, I think, comes from you enjoy it as a child or a young person for its entertainment value, but it's also imbued with adult themes that you're being introduced to. And that synergy of that, where it takes you up to that extra level, that becomes indelible. And so with these new films, there's no interesting adult themes to really challenge young people with. It's just very candy-colored, pat entertainment with none of that. And so it doesn't leave that indelible impression.
Yeah, Avatar is such a weird one for me. So I didn't care for the first Avatar movie. I watched it once and I forgot it existed pretty much. And then I went into the second one not having high expectations and very much enjoyed it. Very much. I think I've seen it twice now. But the thing about Avatar is I agree that it doesn't have a cultural impact, but it clearly there's something there considering both these films have made $2 billion. And we cover theme parks at Geeks and Gamers. And so we're here in Orlando. You have the Land of Avatar at Disney's Animal Kingdom, and then you have Galaxy's Edge to Star Wars at Hollywood Studios. So it's Disney World. I cannot explain to you the difference in enthusiasm when people are at Pandora and how well done it is versus the feeling of death when you walk into Galaxy's Edge. It's horrible. Like you literally want to die when you walk into Galaxy's Edge because it's so bad, it's so bland. It feels like nothing to do with Star Wars. It feels like a company that I was gonna make a joke about like how the WWE treated a certain wrestler from years ago, how they don't acknowledge his existence anymore for a horrible thing he did to his family. I think Tyrone Magnus knows what I'm talking about, but. Yeah. Disney treats George Lucas' Star Wars like that. Like they feel like we can't have anything to do with George's Star Wars, and that's what Galaxy's Edge feels like. It's created on the outer rim, and it doesn't have any kind of connective tissue. But Pandora, enthusiasm, happiness, bright colors, people are pouring into that area. But I agree. I don't see the cultural impact outside of that I do other things like Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and all of that. Avatar is a weird one. It's a very weird one.
Is it just? I mean, is some of it just down to the fact that like you've got a couple of really good rides associated with Avatar? Like Flight of the Na'vi and stuff. Like, it's a cool ride to go on, and the whole area.
Flight of Passage is amazing.
Flight of Passage, sorry, and the whole area. You've got the floating islands and stuff. Like it looks very visually striking and impressive. Like is that partly what draws people in? It just
I think
appeals
so.
to you.
I think so, but you still have to have that kind of like the Harry Potter world, for instance, at Universal Studios is incredible. You know what I mean? And you can feel that enthusiasm, but also, yes, Harry Potter has a massive impact on the culture, whereas you don't have that same feeling for Avatar. It's just a strange universe to kind of wrap your head around. Why is it so important to so many people, but we don't feel it like we do other properties like your Harry Potters and things like that? I can't explain it. I really
think
can't.
It's a particular ingredient that maybe it's an X factor. Maybe there's a finger that could be put on it, but I'm saying like for example, guys, you've got something like The Dark Knight and you've got the Batman. To me, they're equal. They're very. It's arguable, their equality as great movies.
You're fucking wrong on that one, by the way. Go ahead. All right. Wrong on that one.
But I love the Batman. Okay, so listen.
Shots fired.
Where I'm going. The Dark Knight, I could watch every single day, but I can't watch the Batman every single day. It's a different feel and experience, even though I could say it's as good of a movie, but one makes me want to watch it more. One's more of I don't know.
It's easier to consume. It's easier to digest.
Yes.
Do you think the difference is that to have a long-term impact, it has to leave a kind of emotional impression on a person, or like something to do with values? So you've got Avatar, which everyone said is it's a visual piece, but is there any more to it? Is it like watching a fireworks display? I go here, I look at the flashy lights. It's nice, but you never think back to that. It's like, oh, that was nice when I'm watching it, but afterwards, it's not going to leave an impression. Whereas something like Harry Potter, people grew up with it. It taught them values. It taught them about friendship. It taught how you would act in various different situations. And so it leaves like an emotional impact on people, and it teaches them how to behave into the world, and they take that with them. Rather than just, this is CGI, I like it, it was impressive, it was flashy, but it left... There was nothing greater than just pixels on a screen kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's hard. It is hard to figure out. But I think both of you are making some type of it's these. They're easy to watch. They're easy to kind of just. They're laid back and it's fun, and families can go see them. They're safe. James Cameron has the secret sauce, and I don't know what it is, but he's got figured it out in the box office. So I don't know. I can't understand. By the way, so Tyrone, what's funny is that's been a big thing on like Geeks Gamer streams. One of the guys on the team said that like he thinks the Batman and Dark Knight are equal, and I lost my fucking mind.
Two different experiences.
Yeah, we got to bring you on and give him some backup. We got to bring you and give him some backup. So.
The Batman is, I think, one of the probably the film in the modern era. Sorry. The Batman is the film, I think, for me in the modern era where the third act completely killed it. I was enjoying the first 2/3 of it, and then, oh my god, there's another hour to go of this shit, and it goes into stupid drama, and then there's this big rescue thing, and there's a flood, and all this other crap. So
I think
I don't know.
saying there's another hour of this shit doesn't make it sound like you enjoyed it.
Yeah, you didn't really like the first bit either.
Yeah, but
I think you could probably have that for the first 2 acts and like culminate with like the assassination of is it Falcone? Yeah, and like the Riddler kind of triumphs and stuff, or you know, and gets arrested, and that could be it. That would be enough to make a pretty satisfying movie, yeah. And I think that tacked on ending with the flooding of the city and everything just felt so out of step with the rest of the film.
I did like the Batman, though. I do like the Batman. Not as much as Ryan Kennel liked it, but I do like it. So,
what you said about there's people that are growing up with these movies and it's teaching them lessons. And I was thinking, but there's always people growing up with these movies. You got what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do. Yeah, but that's a great point. But I think there must be a formula or a combo because Star Wars, though, was something different. You know what? Well, they were both different.
The one is a point of nostalgia, right? It's just I grew up with this thing. It was when I was younger. This was the first thing I experienced, therefore it was new. That's one point. But I think just nostalgia on its own is different than being taught something about human behavior and emotion and actually leaving an impact. So I agree with you. A lot of the things that you just experienced first because it's new, that does add something to it and can multiply probably everything else. But I think actually having some kind of personable experience, like you can look at John Wick. John Wick, yeah, he kills a lot of people. But I think there's still more to the movies than just an action movie. There's a reason why those action movies are so successful compared to other things. There are other elements of it which are deeper than just him shooting a lot of people in the face. So yeah, I think nostalgia multiplies something, but there's definitely more to the movies that leave you kind of a message or emotion or teach about relationships in the world. There's just something which
I think
it's a deeper human experience.
If it's a key moment of transition.
I was going to say, even with Avatar, like someone could say, well, there's lessons in that. True. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when I hear people talk about Avatar, they're like, "Oh, well, it had a father in it." I'm like, "Okay, yeah," but that's not. There's more things to just. There's a good father. There's like
he's not even a good father.
I've tried to watch Avatar. Like,
from Avatar 2, I learned that killing whales is bad because they might kill you eventually. So.
Chad Whale kills the whalers.
It is. It's like I think we can all agree that Top Gun Maverick had a far more cultural impact than Avatar 2. You know what I mean?
Fucking Puss in Boots had more of a cultural impact than Avatar 2.
Yeah.
But
Go watch that, by the way. It's very good.
I watched it. It's really good. It's really good.
If a film can capture a moment of transition that's poignant, that stays with people. Like if E.T., it's that moment just where the reveries of childhood are starting to recede and the first shadows of the adult world are starting to encroach. And if you can just capture that poignant moment of transition, that connects and stays with people, I think. They remember that.
You need to quote that, man. That shit sounded good.
Yeah. Damn, that's raising the intellectual bar for this whole live stream. It's great.
I'm afraid that quote now belongs to the open bar.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that on T-shirts and everything.
The little platoon of yeah, so I gotta do it.
I mean, going from like the deep lows of the Mandalorian, there's at least something good that's happened this week. The Super Mario Brothers movie's come out, and apparently it's quite good, and it seems to be poised to absolutely dominate the box office this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, I know some of the guys on this panel have seen it. Like, what's your thoughts on it?
I have seen it, and I loved it. Loved it so much. And I wasn't sure. I mean, obviously, I'm a Nintendo fan. I'm a Mario fan, and I'm really hyped for this movie. But wasn't sure what I was going to walk into. And, yeah, I mean, it is not made for anyone that's not a Nintendo fan or a general, fan. It's for families and kids. And it basically, that clip I showed you earlier of Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, in that, right before she said that, J.J. basically talked about Star Wars, and he said how they wanted to reintroduce Luke Skywalker to a new generation. Who is Luke Skywalker? A lot of the audience isn't going to know who Luke Skywalker is, which is fucking retarded to think about that. So Nintendo's whole approach to this is, you know who Mario is, you know what the Mushroom Kingdom is, and you know what the games are, and you know what all these things are. We're not going to explain shit to you. That's why you get Grace Randolph in her interview complaining about Mario in a cat suit, saying it was degrading to Mario. That's a little...
Well, there's a great quote from Grace Randolph here saying, "Totally inaccessible for non-fans of this Super Mario game from Nintendo. Fans might even have a hard time with the non-existent, antiquated, and somewhat offensive story. Shocking misfire from Illumination, the only bad movie they've ever made." Has this fucking idiot ever had a good take on anything ever? How does she have a career?
It was unbelievable to hear that. But the Mario movie, like, I don't think MauLer is going to give it any praise. I think MauLer's going to rip it apart for a movie. There's not a lot of story.
Seen it, and he said it was fine. He said it's okay. Gave it a thumbs up, I think.
Okay. There's not a lot of story to it at all. There's really not. There's a little bit of heart to it with the family dynamic with Mario and Luigi, but that's about it. Go ahead, Marlo. Are you about to say something?
Oh, well, so the thing because I've played plenty of fucking Mario games. I love them. And one of the things I heard from Shad, or at least in his title, I think it said, like, Bowser's a simp. And I was like, yeah.
Yes,
Bowser's a simp in all the fucking games.
Bowser literally sent Bowser Jr. to tell Peach that's hey, you're my mom. My dad told me you're my mom.
I was gonna say, dude, do you think Shad would like Mario Sunshine? Probably not. You don't want to see Bowser in that game. Listen, Bowser has a crush on the Peach lady, all right?
He does. So all of the things, without going into, it's funny to say spoilers into something that's so light on story, but like there's just Tyrone. I know I watched your review of it, so I think you're the only person on the panel that's seen it at this point. So what did you think?
I gave it a 2.75 out of 5.
Okay.
So to me, 2.5 is right in the middle, and it's a little above of average movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see more of Mario doing his thing, but it seemed like he was second fiddle to Peach a lot in this. You know what I mean? And with this whole time of things that are going on with what they're doing, it sticks out like a red thumb. So that would take me out from time to time. Overall, I sat there like Christian Harloff, I think, did a review, and he said he had a smile on his face the whole time.
Which
is what I did too. But one thing I noticed about a lot of the reviewers that I watched, the story. It wasn't much of anything to it. It was a ton of fan service. If you thought back to your childhood, you had that smile on your face. But was it a great movie? No, but it passed. It entertained me, but I don't need to watch it again. But I would watch it again. You know what I mean?
I will watch it again, and I understand your points on Peach. I do disagree because ultimately Mario is the hero of the story. He is. He's the hero of the story. He saves the day multiple times. And she does kind of acknowledge, like, even the things like, well, I've been here my whole life. That's why I know how to do these things. You're
But
new
she
to this
finished
world,
the obstacle course on her first try, even though she lived there.
Right. But she was trained by toads, and she showed as a child she was trained by from that. So that justified. I think it all justified it, and ultimately, without going into the details of the end, like multiple situations Mario saves today. So Mario is the hero of the story, and that's ultimately all we're looking for. Now, Peach has historically. Luigi has been saved a lot in the games, okay? Literally just cowering in the corner screaming for Mario. That's happened time and time and time again. Mario Galaxy, for instance, he's just sitting there in the corner in the ghost house. Just
wait until Luigi's Mansion, okay, when they make that movie.
Oh, I hope so, because Charlie Day is fantastic. So Charlie Day is great. Chris Pratt, honestly, I didn't even think about Chris Pratt. Like, it just seemed like Mario. There's two voice acting problems I had in this. It's the obvious one of them is Seth Rogen.
I knew he's gonna say Seth.
I didn't. Dude. So I didn't like Seth Rogen, and Cranky. Like, his voice didn't work.
Who voices Cranky?
He's a well-known voice guy, but I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. But it just doesn't feel like it would be Cranky Kong. Everybody else, I think, did a great job. So. It's very light on story. It's heavily reliant upon this moment. You see this, you see that, you see this. Oh, look, he did a spin. Oh, look, he's running a certain way like he did in Mario 3D World. Like, all of it it's a literal video game on the big screen. It's like he shows up, Toad's introduced to him, they're best friends immediately. There's no development. They're just best friends. Like, let's go on an adventure. And then let's go to see here, and let's go there. Let's go to the obstacle course. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go Mario Kart. Let's go Smash Bro. It's all over the place, but it's like a video game, and it worked perfectly. It's not Toy Story. It's not WALL-E. It's nothing on that level of storytelling from an animated series. It's not. It's very light from that perspective, but it gets the job done, in my opinion. So I'm very happy with it, and it's crushing it at the box office.
The way you just described it, though, it's like there's been a change in comedy recently where you went from like laugh out loud stuff to just I recognize that clap, which is why I think comedy's died. And you've just described that movie as I liked it because I recognized a load of things from the games.
Yes, no, that's exactly why. That
doesn't sound like a great review, though.
That's what I'm saying, though. I said from a movie standpoint, if you don't know Mario, if you don't know the games, they don't care. They expect you.
Even if you recognize it all, I don't think just recognizing things as being like the games is like a high bar.
Well, it's not unless you've seen video game adaptations 1,000 times that they can't sell you on a good story. I was actually going to say,
it can go the miles.
If
I was gonna say Resident Evil 4 remake. I was fucking getting carried on seeing all these places I knew so well, and I was just like, look, this is a new place, but now it's in HD graphics. I'm sure. Okay,
based off that,
I'm kidding, of course. I just mean I'm sure there was You're saying the story was thin, but I imagine there was one, right? Like Bowser,
Luigi.
There's
a little bit. It's a little bit.
I mean, like it's not like the games were particularly heavy on story themselves. So, like, I think, nobody is expecting much in that sense, you know.
Did you cry, Jeremy? Be honest.
I did, because Lizzo was there and she stepped on my front to my big toe. But no,
I no longer have a big toe.
No, but I did. I smiled ear to ear the whole time. But as I said, I tweeted it out and I said, if you don't know Mario and you don't know what they're talking about, you're not going to understand this movie whatsoever. None of it's going to make sense. So there's just little things, and they're not explaining anything to you as a general audience goer. They're explaining it to, you're a Nintendo fan, this is Mario Universe. And I appreciate it from that standpoint. Did I want a little more of it? Yes. Did I want, I was hoping for a Toy Story level emotion into this. And that's not quite what you're getting. You're 100% not. It's very thin on that side of things. Very thin.
I think ultimately, going into something like this, particularly when it's going to be families with kids and stuff, they're just going to want it to be bright colors, plenty of action, a few laughs, just an easygoing story that's going to get you from A to B, and probably the movie delivers that. And I imagine it's just exactly what people will be looking for at this point. Just a fun, easygoing movie.
I think it's going to make new fans out of small children. Like it is a family movie. Like, kids like the bright colors. Oh, Mario fell. He got bopped on the head by a gorilla. You know what I mean? That stuff makes kids laugh. But, if you're a seasoned vet,
Yes,
it's a different experience. But
yeah, like if you had no familiarity with the games, Jeremy, would you have enjoyed this movie? No.
No.
Well,
Okay.
No.
Interesting.
I
mean,
would
that's
expect more from a second movie.
No, absolutely. So I was having this talk with some of the guys and girls on the team about so my anticipation for this movie was it was going to create the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. That's what I've been saying for months. And I'm looking at it going, they're going to have to do more than what they did in this movie for the follow-up. We need something that's a little deeper. We need better storytelling, a little more character development, and a little more emotional connection, because you can't continue to do what you've done here for the foreseeable future. I think it's a great introduction, but they're going to have to get a little deeper in storytelling if they want to create a universe, a connective universe that's actually going to and there's a lot of directions they can go with all of the Mario stuff. But again, as you guys have said, I mean, my favorite Mario game of all time is Super Mario World. There's no story. My second favorite is Mario Galaxy. There's a little story in there with Rosalina, but it's not like it's very just much a video game. And so they're going to have to figure out what story they want to tell and how to tell it. And I do think for those if you have seen it, and I know Tyrone can understand what I'm saying here, there is a nice family dynamic with Mario and Luigi that can be expanded upon in in the future. There's a
brotherly connection,
yes,
even with their family, because their family is showed in there.
Mm-hmm. So there is meat on that bone, and I 100% will say for future movies, they can't do what they did here. They have to actually put some substance into it.
At the end of the movie, that kind of that was cool to see.
Yeah. This thing is which it's tracking. Like people are saying this movie's going to do $1 billion, and if it does, this is going to open the door for like an entire tidal wave of Nintendo adaptations. Look at all this stuff Nintendo have got at their disposal. They could do things like a Metroid series.
Zelda.
There's all kinds of things. They could do Donkey Kong Country. Who knows?
Seth Rogen. Yay!
But yeah, all that stuff is there, and I think if this movie does those kind of numbers, then we've already seen it with other properties in the video game market. The Sonic movie did well. It garnered a lot of fan enthusiasm after that first disastrous trailer. They put it right, and suddenly you had a pretty successful movie that everyone liked. You had The Last of Us. It was really well received. You're going to have this that's going to do probably $1 billion. This is an interesting time, I guess, for comic book. For super. Yes, Arcane as well. Yeah, a lot of critical praise. This is an interesting time for video game adaptations. I think
it really is. Yeah,
it is. I mean, so I think there's a ton of opportunity for Nintendo to move in the future. Personally, I would love a Metroid movie. I don't think that's a realistic possibility. Metroid Dread is, I don't think the numbers are there for Metroid. Metroid Dread's my favorite game on the Switch and one of my favorite games of all time. I love that game so much. But if you look at the sales for Metroid compared to Mario and
it's way more risky. Way more risky to do a Metroid movie. I think Zelda is the more surefire next one to do.
Yes. Yes.
Fantasy movie, kid with a sword, that is easy. Go ahead and make millions.
Star Fox. I don't think Star Fox has the numbers.
That's a better one, yeah.
Oh no, I would kill for a Metroid movie, and I hope it happens. I just. I'm not sure that the numbers are there for that. Dread did not sell what I thought it would sell, and it's one of the best games I've ever played. So
Metroid would be my preference, but yeah, if I was on their team, I'd be like, all right, the surefire one is Zelda and Star Fox. Actually, people would adore these movies. You may as well make them.
Yep,
they make themselves.
This sounds like a film that's going to have a long and successful life as a kind of lazy go-to for parents if they need to distract their kids for 2 hours.
Yeah, this will be the movie that's played thousands of times in a couple of childhoods throughout the world now.
Yeah, because the numbers, as you talked about, so it was originally, the first numbers were $85 to $95 million opening weekend. Now they bumped it back a day. They opened it a day early. This overall opening weekend now is looking at about 150 or 160 million domestically opening for the 5-day.
That's huge.
The initial numbers for yesterday were about 24 million. The official numbers came in at 32 million for yesterday. So it's tracking extremely well just
And you gotta-
domestically. So
You got to keep in mind the tags of video game adaptation and animation. These are both they're going to be big hitters.
And Disney has completely abandoned this market of family-friendly kids movies without agendas. And
Jerry, Disney has
Nintendo-
abandoned making money.
Yeah. So Disney's kicked the door wide open for Nintendo to walk in here with a family-friendly movie, very light on storytelling, a lot of member berries, heavily reliant upon nostalgia with the mega brand with Mario. Everything's working for this movie right now.
I think that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because Disney create the gap in the market by simply not satisfying demand, like producing garbage movies that are politically infused. And along comes something like this, which is just simple, inoffensive, colorful, fun movie. I say all parents are looking for, man. It's a license to print money, especially with an extremely recognizable character.
I gotta be honest with you, dude. This has been a long time coming. A Mario movie that's animated. That was just money sitting on the table. And so they finally got it.
Yep. And here's the numbers right here. So obviously the critics give it a 54%. Audiences are now 96%, whether that's verified or all audience, which is 5,000 ratings, 96 and 96. So Grace Randolph and her peeps are over here complaining, why would Mario have a raccoon suit? Where did he ever have a raccoon suit?
Plot hole.
Mario eats mushrooms? What? Why would that happen? Mario rides a dinosaur? Like,
Once thing I've learned-
Yeah, because he's badass.
One thing I've learned in this business, you better know what you're talking about if you're going to be that passionate about saying something bad about a particular character.
And is that the crux of the criticisms for this movie from the so-called professional critics, that it's too inaccessible for
Story's the main gripe.
So Chris Gore messaged me the night before the movie, before I saw it, when he saw it, and he told me, he says, dial back your expectations. I do think that's it was a good piece of advice, because I did have like this Toy Story level of expectation going into this, like, because I think Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, especially the first one, are phenomenal movies, not just animated movies, not just kid movies. I think those are fantastic movies. And so I'm glad he told me to dial my expectations back a little bit, because it is light from that standpoint. So some of the criticisms are valid. They are. It's light on story. It's not a really cohesive movie. And if you don't know the universe, you're going to be very confused. Those are valid criticisms. And I don't dismiss those criticisms at all.
Yeah.
I think maybe people want a bit of simplicity, because things like Space Jam was just too cluttered and congested with meta elements and stuff, and I think people didn't like that. I did a video recently about the death of the superhero genre, and towards the end of the video, I talked about, speculating about what could replace it. And overwhelmingly in the comments, people were saying it's going to be video game adaptations as the new big thing. So I think there's something happening out there.
Dude, there's such a, like, can we get, I know it's funny, usually we're asking for a Half-Life 3 video game. Can we get a Half-Life movie? Because that would be incredible.
I think we've got the best one here. Can we get a GoldenEye movie adaptation?
Everybody
People making that joke, right? Like, why don't they adapt that TV show about zombies called The Last of Us into a It seems like it would work. I don't know. Dude, it's going to be so weird. Fast forward one decade, and we might be dealing with a shit ton of maybe even good video game adaptations.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So
maybe.
I will say, be careful what we wish for, because the same people that have ruined superhero movies are going to be involved with video game movies.
No, dude, when they destroy loads of video game franchises, again, by the way, because we've already had that era, the comic book fans will be like, first time? And then the video game fans will be like, no, not first time. We've had this for fucking eras.
At least the comic book movie guys, they got like a good long period of like successful, decent movies.
Yeah,
I think that's why it worked for Mario, because it's a Japanese company, and this just hasn't really penetrated Japan as much as anything else.
Agreed.
There's something, it's not just the language barrier, but the very culture itself is far less forgiving of this kind of stuff, and so it's harder to actually get into those countries and change their culture as a whole, whereas it was based over here, and so it was far easily taken over. Like, a game I've wanted a Deus Ex. Deus Ex 1 would make one of the best movies. Like, that would be my perfect movie of all time if you actually just turn that into movie form. And they couldn't do it. They could not resist, like, subverting your expectations in some way. Oh, we've got to make it a surprise. Whereas you go over to Japan and like, no, we like this. People like the game. We're just going to give you exactly that, and we don't care about our politics or anything. We just want to represent something as it is. And so I think there is a cultural element of this as well. Like, if you had Hollywood make a Mario movie, it would have been awful. It's something about a different culture and a different country making this in the first place. And so one of the advantages you might have with games is a lot of them are kind of foreign-owned to begin with. And so you could end up with like a two-tier system where we try and imitate those, and they actually make good ones.
I would love to get a Time Splitters movie or TV show adaptation. I was just noticed it there. I was like, Time Splitters was fucking great, and I think you could totally adapt that. I think you could have an absolute ball with it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember a Galaxy a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. There's a guy named Jeremy who asked for a Halo live action.
Oh no!
No.
young, naive Jeremy.
Yeah.
Be careful.
There was a
what you
moment
wish
in
for.
that. There was a moment in that where they were counting down in one scene the bullets on the gun, and they didn't even match the bullets coming out of the gun, but they left it with one in, and that was a callback to the first episode where he threw down the same gun. He's like, "Oh, look, we really paid attention." I'm like, "You've just ruined it with the scene otherwise." Oh
God.
Halo
I
really
got-
would make a great TV show / movie, but not what the fuck they made.
Yeah, I know. Like,
they got a season
Absolutely
2.
not.
I crushed that show before it came out, and I got annihilated on the internet. I was kind of like MauLer with the early Mandalorian criticism he was getting. Like, I was crushing Halo before it came out, and these people, they were so mad. They're like, he's just complaining because that's all he does. Just watch Halo. It's going to be great.
All they ever
I don't
said.
hear from those people anymore.
Nope.
Shockingly enough.
That's good enough
the
season fucking 2. They get a season 2.
The interesting thing was, though, there were some scenes which looked like Halo, so they kind of nailed the graphics, and a lot of the times it was the story that let that down as well. So, I'll never forget the time where he was taking his helmet off all the time, and he put his helmet on to ride in a car, got to the other end, and took it off immediately. Like his helmet turned into just a crash helmet whenever he was driving around.
I didn't even want to watch that. I had to watch it because of Fringy. He loves Halo.
I want
crap.
I want a Grand Theft Auto film, and I want Bill Burr to star in it.
I
Yeah.
love that. People talk about the whole superhero fatigue. I don't believe it's superhero fatigue. It's fatigue of the garbage they've been injecting into the most popular movies. It's getting to a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you guys
Get
happen
out,
to catch
we'll love them again.
There's a
Here we
quote
go.
from James Gunn, I think, it was an interview with Rolling Stone. He said, "I think there is such a thing as superhero fatigue. I think it doesn't have anything to do with superheroes. It has to do with the kind of stories that get to be told. And if you lose your eye on the ball, which is character, we love Superman, we love Batman, we love Iron Man, because these incredible characters that have in our hearts. And if it becomes just a bunch of nonsense on screen, it gets really boring." It's like, oh shit, dude.
I roll.
Yeah, I think he's been watching some of our videos with that quote. But
Maybe,
yeah, I mean, because I reject the idea of superhero fatigue in any capacity. There's no such thing as superhero fatigue. There's a such thing as bad movie fatigue and bad writing. Because if you give people Batman, good Superman, good Spider-Man, good X-Men, they will eat that up for as long as you can produce them.
Do you think like any genre can theoretically carry on forever? Like, if the westerns hadn't died off, for example, would we still have westerns getting made today?
I don't know if westerns have that kind of that appeal that superheroes have within all young people at some point. Like, superheroes actually like inspire us from an early age, and they capture our imagination as we grow into teenagers and into young adults. A lot of that kind of follows back up. It's like a gap where we all kind of lose touch with it in our teen years, and then we kind of circle back to it. I think that's inherent to like all of us. So that's why I think superheroes can survive any type of fatigue. Whereas I'm not saying fatigue doesn't exist within certain genres, but at the same time, we have Vin Diesel flying on dinosaurs in space, fighting other cars at this point. So maybe fatigue doesn't exist for the right franchise. I don't know, but specific to superheroes, I don't think that as long as you do it right, I don't think that you can have superhero fatigue as much as bad storytelling fatigue.
I mean, John Wick is basically a superhero movie.
Yeah.
He's practically immune to bullets.
That's what it's turned into.
Well, his
yeah.
suit is.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably argue that it's like a continuation of sort of the Wild West, though, because like this is a place without police, without law enforcement. They are the police. They are the rules. The table controls everything from the top down, and so you're essentially free as long as you could survive the table, but no one could survive the table.
I just want to go to a nightclub where I can have a full-scale shootout with people, and like everyone else will just still be dancing away, like they just don't give a shit, man. Like, I want to find that
shoot
place.
someone in the head, and she's like, "What have you done?"
What's the last good Western movie we've had? Like, I remember 310 to Yuma was fantastic with Christian Bale.
I love that. Yeah.
Was it True Grit? That one was
Yeah,
good.
That was pretty
Damon,
good,
right?
Yeah, I think the True Grit
Jeff
came out
Bridges.
before or after 310 to
Bridges.
Yuma.
Ooh,
Can't remember.
They're
question.
still going. Honestly, good westerns. They're still coming out.
Yeah, so I mean, I do think if you had people focusing, westerns aren't going to make superhero money, but I think westerns could still make money as long as they're done right, for sure.
I think it was just I used that as an example, just on a genre that had a really definite depth for quite a long time, you know. And there was just a period where nobody was interested in making westerns anymore.
I think it's because it's less about the genre. The genre just provides the situation and the environment for you to tell a story. What it comes down to is the story at the end of the day. It's the messaging. It's how it resonates with people. And so you can have like the glitzy fire, but at the end of the day, if you want to like talk about things that influence culture, there's got to be something more that resonates with people on sort of a deeper kind of emotional level. And so you hear it a lot with zombie films. It's not about the zombies, it's about the stories that you can tell. It just provides the possibility for that kind of thing.
Who are truly the Walking Dead? It's the people.
Yes. I do like the idea of Vin Diesel on the back of a Stegosaurus. It's all about family.
Dude, I want it so bad.
As he throws cars at people.
I want it so
Yes.
bad. Like at this point, Fast and Furious. Like I haven't really watched the Fast and Furious since the last Paul Walker one. But like I kind of hear how they get more and more ridiculous and see a lot of the clips. I kind of want to see them in space on dinosaurs at this point.
I
Like,
want to
it's-
see
it's-
that.
I mean,
shit. Hell yeah.
they've been in space in a car
Have
already.
they?
They've done that in the previous one. Yeah.
Oh,
Once you've done that, where can you go? Where can
they
you
could
possibly
time
take it?
Drinking
Yeah,
from
maybe.
places higher than space. We
Listen,
can go
in that
further.
movie, Vin Diesel has godlike strength. I am not joking. What he does when you watch that.
This holiday season, Vin Diesel's going back in time.
Yes, yes.
He's like riding down the back of a T-Rex and just launching up the tail.
You do it, Vin. You go back in time for family. You do it.
He's like saving Jurassic Park kids and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like going through different IPs.
Can he
Well,
go
listen,
back in can he go back in time in Jurassic World and take off Bryce Dallas Howard's high heels in that running scene that would substantially
God,
help
And then
yeah.
pop her in a
moment
car.
God, so bad.
Yeah. Apparently, people are desperate for her to direct the next Star Wars movie. Like,
Oh my god!
genuinely
we
baffled.
We didn't mention that newest episode is directed by her. I was like, oh, what the fuck?
Yep.
Why did you do this?
Gotta have it. Gotta love it.
But listen, before we go on to the next bit, I know, Jeremy, you're pretty much out of time, man. We've been lucky enough to have you for a lot longer than we thought initially, so thank you for joining us.
man. I appreciate you inviting me. Great to be on. Echo, nice to meet you. Tyrone, always pleasure. Tyrone, been watching you for years, bro,
always,
man. It's
man.
awesome. So, Disparu, your new haircut, it's great. It's weird, but whatever. MauLer, Drinker, as always, man. I appreciate you guys. Chat, the MVP as always. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
See you
Thank you,
guys.
you too, man.
Yeah, man.
Bye, guys.
Okay, well, the last item that I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight was the interesting news about the ratings for Rings of Power as people progress through it, or not, as the case may be, because, well, according to this report here,
Well, can we brace the audience a sec? Everyone's under the impression it's incredibly popular and well reviewed. We need to let them know that may not be the case. We may have discovered something else.
prepare to have your expectations subverted. So, in the United States, at least, only 37% of viewers who started Rings of Power actually watched all 8 episodes through to completion, according to a new report from The Hollywood Reporter. The number was not shared directly from Amazon. I wonder why. But it came from sources within the organization. Overseas, the completion rate was slightly better at 45%, but less than half of all viewers worldwide were able to complete Amazon's Middle-earth adventure. That is awful, especially in North America. Barely a third of people got through to the end of that.
Man, as soon as you mentioned it, I started to feel, I'm not joking, I started to feel tired. And I think it just brought back the feeling of watching the movie. I'm watching the show. It made me tired. It was so boring.
Yeah.
I never would have
Yep.
finished it if I wasn't reviewing it. So
No, I agree.
no.
The only thing that was driving me on was sheer morbid curiosity about how bad it could get, and as it turned out, really bad. So yeah, I was surprised. It was
I
impressive.
mentioned this when this news was dropped on. I was on Real BBC talking about it, and I'll say it again here. I'm honestly kind of surprised the number's that high. I was like, really? That many people actually stick through it? I was like, okay, all right, yeah.
Compare it to Batwoman. Batwoman had 20 episodes and maintained 39.7% of its audience.
Ah.
20 compared to 8. I think when you put it in context with other shows, people are just like The Flash is awful. I'm still watching it because I'm going to see this thing through. I have spent so many hours of my life watching this crap. I'm going to make sure I see whatever this finale is. And I think a load of people are the same. They watch it on the side monitor. They're not really paying attention to it that much. And it couldn't even make 8 episodes. People just, I hate this. I'm over. And left.
I think this guy's right here. Like probably the bulk of that 37% were just YouTubers reviewing it.
I think Amazon thought that the viewership would be like the ship staring up at the sun, but in fact the viewership turned out to be like the stone that only looks downward.
How did you come up with something so poignant?
Boats are sinky because they look down into darkness.
This sinky.
Well, that's like a load of topics. Months have gone past since the show was out. If you made a video on it, it wouldn't do that well. Rings of Power, people still hate that. You make a video on it, they're still interested. They want to know about it. It's like people have hated that thing for months. Like, yes, I want to see it fail. And so I think you really touched a nerve. If you wanted to mess with any IP, you probably but this one, no, it really holds a lot of meaning for people. And so you can't just do what you did and expect to get away with it.
It did have a cultural impact, we can say that much. Just not quite the impact that Amazon hoped for.
Matt, your show is so bad that people can't even stick around to hate watch you. That's
There's a fantastic quote for Jennifer Salke though, who said, basically, I've never heard any negative reports like this internally, and I just thought, I wonder fucking why. Is it maybe because everyone's terrified to tell you how bad the show's actually been?
It was an interesting quote because she said, it doesn't reflect any conversations I'm having internally. And it's like, well, you control those conversations. And as we've already, people may not want to tell you that your stuff's awful, but from what they're telling what I want the backstage to that article, because the amount people were coming from other competitors to come and talk to THR about Rings of Power and Jennifer Salke. And it's like, she goes through life and everyone around her is like, this is awful. You're making the wrong decision. No one will tell her. But they'll go and tell a website about it and complain about it behind the scenes. That article is one of the most astonishing things I've seen because it is massive, and the entire thing is she was crap at this, crap at this, crap at this, crap at this, and I went from wondering how on earth did Rings of Power happen to how have you made a season 2 and still maintained your job when you're making this many terrible? Because anyone who doesn't know the beginning of my channel, essentially Wheel of Time was the big thing. That's the one I care about. And she was the one responsible for replacing, as far as I know,
she was responsible.
Conan, which would have been an amazing thing, but she thought it was too masculine, with Wheel of Time.
That's true, yeah.
Which is already, it's very mixed. Like, if you want sort of an equal show, Wheel of Time's about as much as you're going to get. And then the show came out, and it was just all biased. Like, this is just sort of feminist kind of stuff. And so they did that. She was responsible for that, and destroyed the entire series. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I'm talking about TV for my series then. And so for this to come out and find out she's done everything else. What does he talk about? Air, she bought that for 165 million. It's come out that Domestic was 3.2 million box office. It's bad decision after bad decision with her.
The conversation she's having internally, that just could be paranoid schizophrenia, for all we know.
Well, she investigated her thoughts and found nothing wrong. It's like, I think everything's fine, so that's okay.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a little bit of self-delusion, and man, surely from a PR standpoint, there's just no hiding it now. The fact that this show was just a massive failure. Everyone seemed to hate it, and I don't know how they can continue from here. Even the showrunners have tried to claim, oh yes, we're going to have more battles, and it's going to be more kinetic and more exciting than it was in this season. and they're missing the point. Like, the problem wasn't that we didn't have enough battles or that it wasn't enough exciting. It was just fundamentally garbage. It disrespected the lore. There was no characters worth caring about. It was just terribly written, terribly produced, terribly acted. It was a bad show. You don't come back from that.
And that new Warner Brothers trilogy they're going to make, that is going to obliterate the Rings of Power. If they have that simultaneously, my God.
If they have the level of care that went into the Peter Jackson trilogy, sure, it can work. It's got to have the right people involved in it, though. And
it's going to be such an interesting litmus test for the message, like the idea of representing the world we live in today. The way they do it is going to be such an interesting litmus test for where we actually are in terms of representation on screen and all that kind of stuff. Can't wait to see how that pans out.
It's a stupid idea anyway, because you're not supposed to be representing our world, you're supposed to be representing Tolkien's world. And so if you're representing our world, by definition, what you've made is crap. Like,
that would be boring as shit. Why would we do that?
Yeah, well, the whole idea of fantasy is to go to another world where things are different. And he's like, oh yeah, we're just going to do everything the same as we got here. It's like, well, if I wanted to live my own life, you could just put a camera on me and I'll watch that back 24 hours a day. It's like
the problem they have.
Gotta reflect modern society, Disparu. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, this is the problem, because it's getting seen by people in our world. It has to reflect them, because otherwise they might get offended if they feel left out, and so everyone has to be included.
That's why we need Jack Black in it, okay? And he needs to go, whoa, look at me, I'm Jack Black. That's what needs to happen.
I want to see Lizzo as the Queen of Gondor in any TV, anything going forwards. Yeah, we've got to have that in it. Yeah, I mean, it was a wholesale rejection, and they've got to do 4 more seasons of this. So,
God, that's provisional. Like that's aspirational. Like they're not actually.
As far as I know, that was what they were. Yeah, when they got the rights, they said we're going to make 5 seasons. And look, from what that article said, if they gave the article literally said they gave a Peripheral a second season, and the first season cost $175 million. They gave them a second season because they were too scared to tell the original people no, because they would lose too much political capital when they're working on a Fallout 4 season. Like, this is the head of your company is scared to not renew something when they're working for you elsewhere. Like, you can't have someone like that as the top of your company. These people have to be cutthroat. They have to. This was awful. I'm not doing it. No, and everyone else has to respect them. But if you're weak and you're just like that, they'll take advantage of you. It's not a way to run a company.
But they'll bankrupt if they do 4 or 5 seasons.
It's Amazon.
Diminishing returns in the ratings. They'll have to slash the budget, which will make the thing excruciating to watch. And was one of the only draws that they had in the first place was how lush and lavish it was going to look. So, geez, how are they going to get out of this?
It didn't even look good though, and like, there was never a scene where I thought, "Damn, you can tell they spent money on this." Like the whole thing was just generic, standard fantasy looking stuff. You know, there was
3D
no
printed armor that didn't even go down the sides of the. Where would you have found that in the Lord of the Rings movies?
Well, look at the crowds that when someone has to give a big rallying speech to a crowd of people, and they've literally taken like a dozen extras and copy pasted them to the point where people could just pick them out and see where the same person's been duplicated. Like what? You couldn't hire like 200 extras for the day to do that? Like, where did your budget go? What the fuck did you spend all this money on? Who knows? I mean,
just putting Peter Jackson and getting a helicopter to do landscape shots of my country. That was the lush, beautiful thing that everyone thought was spectacular to look at. Yeah, that's just a helicopter with a camera. It doesn't cost $1 billion.
One of the things that I thought really showed season 1 was the behind the scenes stuff. Because in behind the scenes, you expect something a bit deeper. You want to know why the director made this decision, why the scriptwriters made this decision, what was behind this kind of thing. And we had the directors not able to give any depth what they were doing at all. They gave very basic answers. There was no deeper reasoning. It was just, it felt like somebody who turns up for minimum wage, just doing the job, and I just want to leave. There was no deeper thought. It's like, I did whatever I was told, and that's it, I'm off. And you can't do that with Tolkien, someone that literally made an entire universe that you're supposed to, like, there's messages in it that you're supposed to be representing, and it felt like they just saw it as a day job. I want to get paid and leave. And I think when you take this kind of stuff, you have to treat it not only with the respect that you think it deserves, but that everyone else does. And so you can't do this stuff half. You can't just hire anybody for it. You can't hire a no-name person. And in the article, I think it said that Amazon isn't really respected by people. And so they're willing to overpay for what they see as talent. They just want whatever's hot, and they will pay whatever money they need to try and fake some kind of respect. But the people that they don't respect, they will just completely rule with an iron fist and take control of everybody. And that's what they've got with Rings of Power. They've got 2 people that have been in Hollywood for 10 years, haven't even got any credits on writing anything. And so they could completely dominate them and force them to their will. And it's not the people for this. You needed some top talent that was actually willing to stand up to people and take this more as much as I take the piss out of, I'm making art. You needed somebody that felt that kind of way and felt there was something deeper to this work than just, I tilted the camera a bit and that showed something different.
Well, they cut so many of those people out. Like, they had Tom Shippey, who was like your expert on all things Tolkien,
Exactly.
and they made sure to fire him because it's like he was telling them and pointing out how their show was absolute garbage and it didn't like match up with anything in the lore. They're like, cool, well, objections, we'll get rid of you. No, no more problems. That's the mentality, and well, look what you end up with.
With The Last Jedi, it was frustrating in the way it depicted masculinity. It felt like kind of like a one-off, but The Rings of Power was the first thing where I felt a conscious depowering negativity, a strange absence, weird almost, throughout that entire thing. That was incredibly jarring. And that's the one thing that stuck with me above everything else.
You're just jealous you don't have a Tempest in you.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny, like Galadriel, like one of the pretty popular characters from the original trilogy, just became this figure of absolute mockery and derision in the show. Just like,
yeah, but
they made her so cringe.
Yeah.
People didn't dislike Galadriel because she wasn't like Galadriel was powerful in the original stuff, but she was a powerful feminine character, and in Rings of Power she was a powerful masculine character. She was riding into battle on the backs of on a horse, like clad in armor, leading battles from everything, and it wasn't like that in the original movie. And I think Hollywood as a whole have completely lost the ability to separate the two. I actually don't think they genuinely even understand what a powerful woman would actually look like. They just see, I can beat you with a sword, and think that's what everybody needs to be. If I'm not physically stronger than you, there's nothing else. It's like they've lost any sense of depth beneath just physical world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Can't argue with that.
Can't even add to that, really. That's
Yeah, we're all like quiet. It's like,
I mean, I can
it's like,
continue.
yeah.
Like talk about Jennifer Salke if you want, because as the person that destroyed Rings of Power, as the person that destroyed Wheel of Time, like this article for me was astronomical. You actually have people from other shows, like other companies coming in to insult her. And Air, like there was one guy who said, I think somebody else would have matched the Air deal. I'm like, really? She paid $165 million, according to this, for Air, whereas it made something like 3-point-something million domestic on its opening weekend. There's no way that's going to make its money back at all. It can't. But she wanted it because it's hot. And people are coming to Amazon, no idea what Amazon like. They don't know. And so Jennifer Salke comes out and goes, we make shows for everybody. Like, okay, but how is that helping people trying to pitch you shows? What is your audience? What are you trying to make? Do you like story shows? Or do you want family shows? Like, no, we just want everything. And they've got other people, I think, what was it, Vernon Sanders is also in here. And it's like, nobody knows what he wants. It's like, I'll just tell you. And apparently you come across as very enthusiastic about something, and then they never hear back from you. All of it seems like not only not a way to run a company, but you're not really helping people provide you the quality content that you're after. You're not providing any kind of direction for it. And when it gets down to how deals are made, how money's made, even down to the desks, the executives don't actually even get a desk at Amazon Studios. They're just supposed to hot seat around like any kind of person. They don't get an office. They don't get a desk. Just whatever. That's not Hollywood, where you're supposed to respect these people. You want to actually attract talent, and you're not providing them anything. You're providing them stock. So nobody wants to take any risk. because they've all got to maintain their stock so they can sell it in the end, rather than just getting paid and maybe challenge something, push the boat out. There's a reason why Netflix is absolutely dominating any kind of chart you look at, because they're not run like Amazon.
And she's just unfireable, presumably, as well. She's like the Kathleen Kennedy of Amazon. Like, she's just too big to get rid of. Would look too bad optically.
The only interesting metric there'll be for Rings of Power Season 2 will be to see if the trailers get ratioed even worse than the trailers for the first season.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's so much fan antagonism towards it now. It's like you can't win people back from this. It's just, it's too deep of a hole that they've done.
You know, Drinker, at that point, if you're on the team for trying to recover from it, you should be like, fuck it. Just spin out all the articles about how they hate women. What else have we got? Like, we're done. We've lost.
Reboot it. I don't know. Like, just start again.
I literally think there'll be maybe even millions of people who will rely on the likes of us to just give the description of what the second season was like rather than actually watch the show. I think there's going to be a huge proportion of that.
Well, I think that, because
through it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the anger and resentment gives way to apathy ultimately, and then that's look where we're at with Mandalorian. So many of us just stopped watching because it's like, I don't even care anymore. I don't have any emotions now. That'll happen to Rings of Power. I mean, it'll be funny from a review point of view just to see how bad it gets, but it's not going to have any way more
material
impact
for us to talk
about.
But,
I think so. And hell, maybe like if they have to do 5 seasons, maybe each season will be like 2 episodes a piece or something. Like the shortest they could possibly make it. Galadriel sitting in a room.
We could all collaborate and just invent stuff that actually happened in the show and pretend in our reviews that was it, and then millions of people would believe it because they didn't bother to watch the show.
Could you believe that Galadriel discovered a lightsaber and then threw it at Sauron and decapitated him? Yeah. Wow.
I mean, watching Vader and Iron Man fight was fun.
Well, yeah, if someone described the Mandalorian series to you, would you actually believe it happened? Like, so Grogu was in a fight, and then he just started bouncing around over the top of a guy, and then he shot him in the back after he jumped over
with paintballs.
Exactly. It's like there's lots of
I will say,
and then
because this is an interesting thing to have done with Drinker, actually, because I think, am I right in saying, has everyone here seen Mando now except Drinker and Echo Chamberlain? Is that right? Or
yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm very proud of the
I started watching the start. I've just seen clips after.
Okay, well, so this is the thing about it. Half the episode with the Jack Black and Lizzo stuff, let's just ignore that. If you describe it flatly, it is Bo-Katan and Mandalorian have to investigate rogue battle droids that have been refurbished, ready for service, killing people / messing up in their day-to-day, and they find out there is a separatist who is loyal to Count Dooku, who wants to find a way of like getting this Outer Rim system away from both the Republic and the Empire back to the glory days. Doesn't that sound kind of like okay? And then you watch it and you're like, wow, this is shit.
Yeah.
That sounds like when Cartman discovers the truth behind Family Guy when he just got like manatees pushing the balls around. Random Star Wars stuff coming at me.
There was because we over on EFAB we've done recordings where we talk about like how interesting it would be to follow a separatist who made it out of like Order 66 and all the shit that happened with that, but simultaneously didn't go with the Republic, and so when the Empire came in and then fell and the Republic came in, like this separatist on an Outer Rim world is just like fuck all of you sort of thing. That would be an interesting story. And Christopher Lloyd is that guy, by the way, and he says about 3 sentences, mentions Count Dooku, and then Bo-Katan electrocutes him, and he has like a pratfall. He goes whoa and falls over. Just like
this kind of general setup and these ideas, but done in the style of something like Andor, would be really interesting.
Yeah. No, we said if it was in Andor, it would actually have some kind of weight. Probably.
It's just like I can't match up these shows. Like
no.
Andor is taking place in a completely different fucking universe to all of this. Like it's so tonally mismatched.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. It's insane how different these things can be.
Drinker is so fucking dumb. The droids, he corrupts them himself with a droid liquid that he leaves his name and picture on. Like, they inspect the droid juice, and they're like, oh, it's literally stamped with his ID. And then they go, why'd you do it? And he's like, 'cause I'm evil. Well, case solved. Like, good job.
Fucking Hercule Poirot's got nothing on these guys. Like,
yep.
Jesus. Yeah, that's.
I think with any of this stuff, it's your intention that shines through in your work. And so if you want to make something that's authentically Star Wars, it comes through. If you don't really care, that comes through as well. And I do wonder, especially after the Hollywood Reporter's article, how much of this comes down to people aren't held accountable because there's nothing that there's no system. Everything in a corporation is comes down to kind of system. So if you don't have someone directly to hold you accountable, you can essentially get away with anything. And so you've got the peripheral deal. Jennifer Zolke said probably should have been cancelled. The person said about Jennifer Zolke probably should have been cancelled. They made a mega deal, and the political capital they would lose with Lisa and Jonah would be too great, and so they ended up renewing. Then you've got other people that were getting paid $20 million a year. Did they produce anything? No. Still got paid $20 million a year. Is anyone going to be held accountable for that? No, because there's no one above them. And I think when you have a creative process where it, like, say in Andor, you made something that wasn't Star Wars, if there's someone to go, well, actually, no, this doesn't match with this, we need to change this because it contradicts this other information, then you can come up with something good. But if it's just you making whatever you want and no one's even checking on you, like, no one will check you for 3 years to make sure you've even made content, then you're going to end up with two entirely different results. What you need is somebody above these people making sure they're staying on point and actually create a culture within the company of people contradicting you. So if you actually break the law, they will actually tell you about it. But we've seen from things like The Witcher, when you've got an actor who's going, this does not make sense in the books, this contradicts the games, they don't like it, they think this is awful, this guy's just causing trouble for me, rather than somebody who's actually making something authentic.
I can only imagine what the atmosphere at Lucasfilm must be like. Like, imagine, if you will, that you're like a Lucasfilm employee who was around when George Lucas was still running the place, right? And you've been there for like maybe 20 years or so. You've kind of seen it all, and now you're in this horrible position where like literally everything your company is putting out is garbage. Nothing's working. Everyone hates it. You know that the fans hate what you're making, and everyone kind of probably hates each other because nobody's talking to each other. Like you say, none of these shows have any kind of like overall creative direction. There's no person overseeing it. There's no grand plan. Even the movies that they want to get off the ground aren't happening. You must just be like, what am I even doing with my life working here? This is just like purgatory. It just must be the death of creativity working somewhere like that now.
Dude,
Everyone just wants a payday. It's like it said in the Amazon deal. Everyone's just killing time until their stocks actually come through.
There was an era where TV shows would have to fucking rip and claw their way into getting a season 2, a season 3. Mando's like sailed into it and doesn't even care. It's just like, yeah, I guess I have a season 3. Here I go. We're going here now. Look, Jack Black. Look, there he is, jumping up and down, saying woo. There's Lizzo. I don't know.
I like the first
Something
two
really,
seasons. I don't know what they're doing
something
with
really
it.
good is on its own terms. Take it or leave it. We think this is great, fantastic, enjoy it. If you're desperately trying to bring in new demographics, then it really shows. Like we're going to have young punkish people on candy-colored scooter motorcycles like the Power Rangers.
Ooh,
yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Young people, you'll like that. And it's just so cynical and so obvious.
Yeah,
That was painful.
It was painful.
Let's do some super chats to cheer ourselves up, shall we? God, screw the Mandalorian. Okay, let's have a look. See here. Waylon Bucephus here says, "What would you? Oh, Christ, this will cheer everyone up. A bucket of AIDS or Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy? Could we pour the bucket of AIDS over the trilogy and somehow affect it, kill it?
They'll cancel each other out.
I don't know which is more toxic at this point.
In the UK, you know how Ricky Gervais has his friend Carl Pilkington? And he
Yes.
always talks about his perfectly round head. That's what I think of when I look at Rian Johnson. It's the perfect roundness of the head as well.
You can almost get like one of those draftsman's compasses and just like go right the way around, and it's almost perfect. It's flawless.
That's right.
David Lamplow says, some of the best Star Wars stories that was scrapped as canon came from the games. Disney took over. Only 3 games have been made after scrapping Lucas games. The Mandalorian lore came from the games and retconned to be worse.
Yeah, that's not new for Disney. They like to just randomly steal pieces and ditch everything else.
Yeah.
But one of the best Star Wars stories, like at least moments, the thing that I remember the most comes from Star Wars: The Old Republic. It is the Imperial agent storyline. There's still a moment in that where there's very few things where it's like a decision actually matters to me in a game, and like you need to die. Like that big of an impact it makes. There was Baldur's Gate 2 and Star Wars: The Old Republic. They should make the Imperial agent from Star Wars.
They shouldn't.
Okay, they should fire everybody in the company and then rehire loads of new people and then make that story.
That's the way.
Does anyone remember a story called Splinter of the Mind's Eye? I remember reading that as a kid and really loving it. Does that ring any bells with anyone?
Not me, no.
Not me.
Sounds familiar, but
yeah. From David Lamplow as well, he says, also Andor, amazing looking sets and well built up story makes really drives forward how bad the Mandalorian looks and is written and acted. Yeah, very true. Because the Mandalorian is mostly set against green screens. So
it's almost, dare I say, it's almost evidence of how bad things are, because Andor clearly has nothing to do in terms of the production with anything else, so they don't care. Like, it clearly looks someone like, yeah, you go do your little Andor thing, whatever. Here's your money, here's your thing. Go make it. Like, they clearly had more freedom, or at least it's hard to say because Favreau and Filoni like to claim that this is all like exactly what they want. Mandalorian. It's like, are you sure you want to say that? Like, you sure you want to take credit for that?
It feels like they had a lot more creative freedom in season 1. I feel like the studio started to get involved with season 2 because it's like, oh, this was a success. Clearly, we need to micromanage this.
Are you saying that because you don't want to believe that they would like what they've made in season 3?
I mean, they're never going to publicly disparage it, are they? Because it's like, what can they say? Yeah, this is a fucking turd.
I don't know,
I'm really
man.
sorry this got made.
What if Favreau's lost his magic, His latest projects in the past, 5 years or so have been really bad. Like, all of them. He killed Lion King, dude.
What are his other ones?
Lion King live action is one of the most horrendous live action remakes ever.
Watch why I'm asking myself to watch that.
All the quotes from Jon Favreau are fucking cringe about that movie. It really makes you question some stuff. Like, wait, I thought he was good at his job. What happened?
I mean, yeah, did he luck out with Iron Man and it's like been downhill since then? Or, I don't know. It could be like, well, sometimes people get slotted into projects that they're not really suited for, but it's like, well, you're a big name and we want to use you for this, and it's a stepping stone to other stuff, and it ends up being a bit garbage. I'm not sure.
I'd also wonder as well, Drinker, how long can someone sell out before they're just shit? You know what I mean? Like, they're doing it for the money. They're this project and this one and this one and this one and this one and it's like, no, they're just shit now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how J.J. Abrams started. It's like you were just always shit.
Maybe once they start blaming you.
I still like Alias.
Yeah.
Like, I will die. Like, that's where my name comes from, so I don't really have much choice but to defend Alias. Although I did like it the entire way through.
I liked Alias.
Except for season 3. Season
people
3
in
was
chat,
an abomination.
I am saying live action as they say it. I'm not calling it. It's still animation, of course. It's just that they all call it. You'd understand if you saw the YMS video. There's all these quotes from people being like, yes, it is a live action film, yes. We'd have to count it that way, even though there's literally no people in it at all. It's all animated, yes.
Yeah. It's animated to look photorealistic, and it's, the whole premise behind that movie was, like, deeply flawed. Andrew Singh says, if Amazon adapts the Bible for a modern audience, then Lucifer will be a tragic villain, booted by his straight white father for being too progressive, played by Jennifer Lawrence, of course. A good Friday to all. Thanks, man.
I'd watch it.
Jennifer Lawrence invented religion.
Yeah.
That's what
well,
I did,
she should be God and Lucifer at the same time, because
she's the Holy Trinity.
Every role.
Explains everything.
Yeah. RRTNZ says, congratulations, Drinker, on your terrific interview with Russell Crowe. Also really looking forward to your upcoming reviews of Dodgeball and Cobra Kai Season 5. Wait, what? Sorry, couldn't resist. Yes, well, I'm definitely looking forward to doing a Dodgeball review. That will come. Believe that. Axeth says, in the latest episode of Mando, we got another example of the famous Holdo maneuver. I have called it Lizzo gravity pull, but what would you call it? And I was hoping that Lizzo the Hutt would eat that baby like Fat Bastard did.
Yeah, that's inevitable.
Shan Wickrasim says, Overlord asked me to pass this on to the Critical Drinker and that he said hi. Aw, thanks very much. Appreciate that. Waylon Bacifus says Nathan Drake or Arthur Morgan. This is for all of us. Who's your favorite?
Need to
I'm
play
gonna
both
recuse myself from
franchises.
this one.
It's kind of funny. I know which franchise you're talking about, but I haven't played either of them.
I think I'd probably go for Nathan Drake. I just like him more in terms of quality of storytelling and stuff. Like,
Why do you hate cowboys?
Yeah, I've just got a thing against the Western genre.
Even though Nathan Drake's kind of a cowboy as well.
I mean, he's an Indiana Jones type character, really, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, those are like, you could archetype them back to cowboy, can't you?
Where are we going with this? It's like John Wick's a cowboy, basically.
He is. What Disparu just
He's
said.
got
I
guns.
could make an argument for that. I'm
He
still
could.
sure. It's a present day one. Just like what are cowboys at the end of the day? It's like where the police have no power. There's no like governments as such. Everyone's out on their own, like forging their own future. I suppose you could argue that the table was the replacement, which cowboys don't have.
Cowboys knew about tables.
Breaking news.
You need to stop helping, MauLer.
I'm gonna get some profound statements from MauLer. Like when we were talking about the whale, and you're like, fat people can pick up keys off the floor, drinker.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Elsie Le Pen says, "Happy Easter week, open bar. Was wondering if anyone on the panel has or plans to see Tetris. I'm hoping that it continues the trend of good game films."
I've seen it.
This is a weird-looking one. It's got so many interesting elements and dynamics set in the collapse or near the collapse of the Soviet Union, and there's this power play over the game of Tetris.
Oh,
Who
it's
came up with
very
that
good. It's all...
Yeah,
It's Hollywoodified, right? But it's the story of how the rights to Tetris were a fucking disaster. Everybody was claiming they had all kinds of rights to all kinds of things. One of the key elements was that Russia sold them over to Microsoft with the promise of computer gaming rights, and then they tried to sell arcade and handheld with that. And when Russia found out, they were like, "What the fuck? We did not promise you that. We only said computer gaming." And it's like, it's all computer gaming, you fucking idiots. Like, there's all kinds of shit that happens. I would fully recommend it. It was very fun to watch.
Darren Edgerton, he's an interesting one. He chooses such interesting projects. It went from being Elton John. He was in this criminally overlooked show called Blackbird, which was everyone should see that. And this project looks really interesting too. So he's one to watch, that guy.
I'm looking forward to watching this one. Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see it. Grimnack says, "Hail gents, Drinker, congrats on the Russell Crowe interview. I'm sure it was the highlight of his life to talk to the true Scotsman. Going to watch Mario tonight with my 9-year-old son. Wish me luck." Yeah, well, hope you enjoy it, man. And yeah, thanks for the compliment. I very much enjoyed doing that interview. It's good
You
fun.
can tell we're getting further along in the night because you just called him Russell.
Yeah, that's Russell.
I like interviewing Russell.
I'm not even that drunk right now either. This is a change of pace. Maybe that's the problem. I'm not drunk enough.
Just how
I
I've
gotta
always
check that
thought.
out, man. I didn't even get a notification for that.
Oh
I
damn!
swear to God, I never knew you interviewed him.
Oh, it was it was a weird one. I did it as a premiere as well, so yeah, I think some people thought it was going to be a live stream, and so they were sending in questions for him and stuff. It's like, yes, it's not that. Can't help you there, I'm afraid.
Maybe that was a Scottish thing, like a kind of Sean Connery, like he would say, Russell.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I'm always like lapsing into Sean Connery. It's my big weakness. And this is a two-parter from J.K. Fozel. Says, MauLer, the other day you said, paraphrased, the writing for Last Night in Soho was really bad. Outside of Terence Stamp's character being a poorly written red herring, saying things that someone would only say if they were trying to appear villainous in a film, there could be other problems, sure, but nothing that made me go, how is this an Edgar Wright film?
I would never have thought Edgar Wright wrote that film if you hadn't been plastered on the film itself. It wasn't even necessarily like there was major contradictions or like huge holes or stretches. I was just like, what a boring ass fucking story. Where Drinker kind of summarized it when we were talking about it. You're gonna have to help me out if I've already deleted it. I hated it so much I wanted it out of my head. It was like some woman comes to I forget even where they are, and she's like introduced to the showbiz, and she's getting higher and higher, but then she realizes she's gonna have to suck some cock to get further and further along. And then eventually she's like sold out for that sort of thing. And so she decides, right, to start killing them. She's going to stab them when she's having sex with them or whatever, and then cover up the bodies by burying them in her house under the floorboards. Yep. I remember I watched it with Fringy and John CJG, and we were like, Okay, that's metaphor. That's not real, right? Like that she didn't actually start burying them all in the house because that's not going to work for too long. That'll smell real bad eventually. And the big problem with the film is that they're very sympathetic to her. Like you see, all of those men that got horrifically murdered. To be fair, they did tell her that she had to sleep with them to raise herself up in the showbiz.
Well, no, because I think a lot of those were just because at a certain point she just became like a paid prostitute, and like they knew, like they were there for that essentially. But yeah, the film basically implies that it's okay to murder guys who go to prostitutes. Now, I think we could all like surmise they're not nice people necessarily, and they're kind of sleazy and stuff. But I don't think they deserve to get murdered for that. But the film's like, nah, it's fine.
It was awkward as fuck, because by the end of the movie, she tries to kill the main characters to prevent them from exposing the truth, and she's defeated, and then our main character's like, aww. And it's like, what the fuck? No, aw.
They were the true villains.
The best friend who gets like stabbed in the gut and he's just bleeding out in the middle of like the house while she's having a heart-to-heart with her. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
I fucking hated that guy. He was such a shit actor. Like, he just came across as so weak. Like, you could see he was terrified to even put his hands on her, like when she was freaking out and stuff.
To try and help people understand, like, I'm more angry at this film than I would be normally because this is the same guy who made the Cornetto trilogy. You fucking with me? No way. Like,
yeah, so Tyrone, to answer your question, it's called Last Night in Soho. So it's the same guy who did like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and stuff. And yeah, he tried his hand at doing like a kind of psychological horror movie. And it just came across as just really unsuited to his style. And even his flair for like quick edits and stuff just wasn't there. It was like so lacking in energy, so lacking in creative impetus. It's like, he was given this thing but didn't really want to do it. That's what it felt like.
There was some shots I loved. There was some creative, like there was in trailers where like the dance is happening and they're changing the girl in the middle of the dance between the two main actresses who are like experiencing each other's memories or whatever. I was like, okay, that was really done well and stuff. And like talking to each other through mirrors, trying to reach each other through mirrors. There was some stuff with that, and I was like, yeah, this looks pretty good. But the script, dude,
yeah.
Hot Fuzz is one of the best scripts in movie history. This is something I never, like I said, I don't even want to remember it. I wanted it gone. It's expelled from my brain.
Shame as well, because it had a great cast. Really good cast in it. Yep. But yeah, they couldn't elevate it.
I saw the trailer and I thought this looks too over-stylized, and it looked like Edgar Wright was maybe trying to do like Stanley Kubrick or something, so I kind of gave it a miss.
It's like, yeah, it's like they went for this like basically a caricature version of like the glamour and glitz of London in the 60s. Like that's what he was going for, but it's like probably never existed like that. But yeah. Tyrone, I know that you're pretty much out of time, man, and that you have to finish up. But yeah, thank you for joining us at the open bar tonight. As always, it's great to have you on, man. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love hanging out with you guys. I appreciate it. Have me back anytime as usual, man. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
All right, fellas. Have a good night.
See you, dude.
See you, dude.
See you, man.
Thanks, man. All right.
And then there were four.
Then there were four. How many are going to make it to the end? The right tackle says Lizzo is the reboot Death Star confirmed. Well, that's no moon.
Yeah, Gary's edit with I guess that would have been Perry Chat. I'm not sure whose joke it was, but that did get a laugh out of me. We just have Obi-Wan being like, "It's so serious that that's no moon line."
I just keep thinking of the lead singer of the Max Rebo band that they did in Return of the Jedi. That's my Lizzo in Star Wars.
God. Waylon Bicephus says, "Remember, gents, if she won't love you, her sister will. Gandhi, probably. What is your your personal favorite Western? Gingers, blondes, or brunettes?" So there's a whole bunch of questions there.
What?
So I'm just reading out as is. I go for blondes. That'll do. I like them.
Ginger, blonde, or brunette?
I don't know any ginger westerns.
Yeah,
I was that's what I was thinking of. I was like the ginger western.
I was trying to think of a combo. I couldn't get
it's like a subgenre of the western, like where everyone's ginger or something.
So, my favorite western is the best western, being Unforgiven. Easy choice every time.
I've got a few. Unforgiven would definitely be up there. I always like Pale Rider and High Plains Drifter. both of them, yeah.
Butch
I
Cassidy
would
and
happily watch.
Sundance Kid. And I've got a nice fatalism to it. It's going to be where I'm going to land.
Yep.
It's been so long since I've watched any westerns. I can't even remember. I don't think I've actually watched a western since I was a kid. Like when that entire thing left. Well, except for why did I need this flashback? I'd wipe this thing from my memory.
Cowboys and Aliens?
Yeah, there was the Daniel Craig one.
God,
I knew it.
I'd wipe that thing from my memory, and now I'm like, oh.
Now we all have to think about it because you've mentioned it.
There was another modern one. I can't remember what it was called.
Well, they did a remake of The Magnificent Seven.
That was probably. I think that's what I'm thinking of. I
Chris
remember
Pratt
the
one.
I really like that
surprised,
one, but that's the most modern one I can remember.
I'm surprised they haven't remade The Wild Bunch. That seems like an obvious one to remake.
Yeah.
It's good shit. There's also Bone Tomahawk I really enjoyed. That's a recent one too as well.
It's like a Western horror, isn't it?
It is.
Does Dances with Wolves count as a Western?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah,
It's like an epic Western, I guess, if that's the right term for it.
You got Hostiles. Seraphim Falls I remember watching. I don't remember what happened though.
Well, there's people suggesting as well that the Westerns are making a bit of a comeback, and that you've got things like Yellowstone, you've got like 1922, like the Taylor Sheridan stuff. It seems to be really kicking off now.
I
think that's the moment.
They have their place. They exist. They keep going. They're there. Hello, Westerns. I like them. I like when they pop up.
I
like a lot
think
of
they have a
genres now.
timeless element to them in the fact that it's generally, especially if it's a sheriff, you've got like a man whose sole duty it is to protect all of these people. He's probably going to die. There's no way he can handle everything, so it's sacrificial but also protective of everybody else. You have a load of people where it sort of, they can kind of defend themselves, but they're out here against the world. There's a lot of themes in westerns which are kind of core to us, which you don't get in a lot of other situations.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting, I guess, as well, the different interpretations of the whole genre as it changed by the decade. Like the 1950s, it was just very like, bombastic. How the West was won. American spirit triumphing against the elements and the frontier and stuff. Like you progress into the 60s, and it's much more not satirical, but like it's much more reflective, I guess, and like it subverts a lot of the tropes, and I guess it's reflected the social movements of the time. And by the time you get way up to the 80s, that's when you're into the realms of like Unforgiven, where it's very much just a saying goodbye to the genre and reflecting that things weren't quite as rosy as they were pictured
We need
previously.
to do something for that movie. I fucking love it. I'd happily talk about it with you.
That's an interesting point. The closer you get to like modern times, the more the world's sort of flattened out, and you've got like hierarchical powers just on everybody. So the rule of law is everywhere. Whereas you go out to the Wild West, it is literally the sort of, it's you versus everybody, and if you're not going to defend yourself, nobody else is. And so there's an element which we just do not like. You can't replicate that nowadays without going back in time. So it's an interesting period of history.
Well, obviously, The Mandalorian played upon the very tropes of the Western, like the bounty hunter traveling from place to place, where the law is just like a very tenuous thing, and there's not really a system of government, and it's very much every man for himself kind of thing. And that's, again, the fact that you can port that into a sci-fi setting and it still functions perfectly well. It calls upon that idea of adventure and possibility and risk and danger and all that. Those are all things that are just fundamental components of a good adventure story, and the Western is a good distillation of all of that.
I love how
that was
No Country for Old Men took the contours and the tropes of the Western and transposed it into something better and special. So that's why that one's a favorite for mine.
Yep,
it's a hard hitter, that one.
Yeah. Jester of Roanoke says Rings of Power is a show so bad that it burns itself to the ground. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I loved it when they went, we only had to stop filming for an hour. It's like, yeah, but the firemen stayed there for 4 hours. Just because it didn't impact you doesn't mean it wasn't a big fire.
Wait, does that mean that in the background we'll see some firemen running around?
Yeah,
flaming horses going by and stuff. Yeah, good.
Might be something actually watchable.
Yeah, that'd be something
this
different.
looks really realistic.
Yeah. Unhinged says, I'm half-mast and ready to edge out this stream. Yeah, well, I hope you managed to make it this far, man. That's a tough one.
3 hours.
He's a man of focus, dedication, and sheer fucking will.
Good reference.
God, yeah.
Mr. This is perfect as well. Mr. Boner says, what are your thoughts on the Ragnar Viking show?
Mr. Boner.
That is literally the next person on Super Chat. So.
I was like, well, Mr. Boner, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Unfamiliar, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about it myself, man. I'm sorry. Chrissy Mitty says, Dark Harvest is eligible for a 2023 Dragon Award nomination, which suggests Best Horror Novel category. Anyone can nominate and vote. No payment required. Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, don't feel compelled to do anything with that, but there it is. Mr. Taco Boutique says, Spider-Verse and Barbie looking really good and going for the new Ben Affleck movie soon. Not a bad week. Also, congrats on the Russell Crowe interview. Thank you very much. And is the Ben Affleck movie, is that Air?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I watched the Barbie movie trailer, and I was, like everyone else, like, huh. Okay. Like, that's the reaction right now, I think. It's like, what is this?
It's a weird one. For that film to succeed, it's got to get right through a very specific tonal keyhole.
Yeah.
Because either side is going to be a catastrophe.
I just, I sense we're not the target audience for it, but you know, what can you do? Dragon Paul Z says, hello, gents. Was wondering if MauLer still held the same response to Mando Season 3. As someone who loves Andor, there's far too much wrong with that episode for me to ever consider it good, even if Pershing is an interesting character.
I think it's the best thing in Mando Season 3, but it doesn't belong in Mando Season 3. The idea that we're going to see a man who, through an amnesty program, is given a chance to reintegrate himself in the Republic, like, there's no time to properly tell that story, and it's bizarre to have it happen in the middle of fighting dragons and crocodiles with the Mandalorians. I legit have no fucking clue what they were thinking, putting that there. And there's plenty of flaws with the episode itself as well. Like, there's a couple things that don't quite make sense, like when they jump off the train, or how she can torture him and get away with it. And, plenty of people... I would have told them when they made it, people are going to find this fucking slow. You can't go from having an army of Mandos shooting lasers at all kinds of crocodiles, and then you have a guy talking to some people on his way to his apartment, and then getting on a train, and then looking in some, making a speech, talking to a droid. It's like, what... The thing we said on EFAP was like, what a way to kneecap this storyline by putting it in the wrong TV show. Like, what are you doing? This if anything, it belongs in Andor. It doesn't belong here. And so, yeah, I totally understand people thinking it's bad. It's not a surprise at all.
Kyle Posey says, this is the obligatory, you've got to watch the menu super chat. That's all, gents. Cheers. Apparently I do, yeah. Need to watch the menu. And also... from Dragon Paul Z says, the New Republic being awful so soon after Return of the Jedi, him not asking about why Elia is so invested, Elia's risky train plan despite working with the New Republic, Elia having free access to the Mind Flayer and having no consequences are the easiest massive issues to that episode.
I'm not sure I buy the whole... I've heard a lot of people echo the sentiment like, oh, so the Republic are just as bad as the Empire. Not sure where people are getting this from, because the flaw is not quite in what they do to him. They tell him they're using a Mind Flayer repurposed to give him, I don't know how they describe it, but if you watch it when they turn it on, he smiles. I think they're giving him some kind of therapy. She's the one that cranks it, and it turns it into a torture device. That's the part that's stupid. She shouldn't be able to do that. There should be something preventing her from doing that. I don't even know. You didn't even see this, Drinker, right? Because you turned it off by then. So,
yeah.
She basically, people are saying the Empire, are horrible, blah blah blah. The Republic are clearly torturing their prisoners of war, so to speak. He's a guy in an amnesty program who's broken his probation, I imagine, and they put him into some kind of thing to try and rehabilitate him to stop feeling, loyal to the Empire. The weird part of it is that it's supposed to be some form of therapy, but by pressing one button or turning one knob, it turns it into a fucking, mind-erasing torture device, that's the dumb part to me.
Yeah, it does, yeah. It seems a bit easy.
Yeah.
Chris Estrada says, just saw John Wick 4, a great movie, but here comes the unpopular opinion. Mr. Nobody is a dirty rat camper. I said it. I'll go away now.
A dirty rat camper? What do you mean?
I think basically he doesn't get too involved in the firefights, and he's just there in the back, like he's there at the distance sniping at people or whatever. Like he just posts up somewhere, and that's kind of true.
Like shit
That
on him
was
for
a
being a camper
character.
in general. I mean, that's like the smart thing to do in that universe. To be fair,
That character to me felt like somebody that was added in after the script was already written, because he didn't really change any of the movie. If you removed him from the movie, nothing would really change, apart from a couple of times where he saved him, and I don't think he really left an impact. Like, that character could have been all of his scenes could have been removed from me, and I don't think it would have affected the movie at all.
I agree.
I like
Yeah,
the fact that after Phase 4 and all the identity politics and bullshit in Hollywood, the two big hitters are Top Gun Maverick and John Wick, where guy shoots guns and guy flies planes.
It's all
Yeah.
people want.
Next movie I'm
Don't
interested
forget
in,
Avatar.
Mission Impossible. Like, it is literally a return to, if I don't trust you to make a good complex movie, I'll just take good simple movies. That's all I want at this point.
Yeah. Simple movies, well done, are perfectly fine by me, you know? A simple idea, well executed. A guy gave me $5, so thank you. As his wonky eyebrow says, "Hail Sir Drunkler, great interview with Mr. Crow." Thank you. Also, a guy says, "Messed up the last super chat, clearly." Meant to send this with it's off topic, but the greatest sitcom ever made is Hail Honey, I'm Home, a story of Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun living next to a Jewish couple. Sounds charming.
I'd still say coupling myself, but...
Okay. Andrew Reddy says, "Good day, drinker and guests. I'm wondering if any of you have read Stephen Erickson's series Malazan Book of the Fallen. Is it any good? And if it is worthy of a TV series like Game of Thrones or The Witcher?" The name's really familiar. Why do I know that name? Hold on.
Chad is really esoteric today.
I wanted to mention, by the way, that Andor question, we've had that sent in on EFAB, and we have given an answer to it. It's just in one of the catch-ups that are coming out. So sorry it's been delayed. I appreciate they wanted to know the answer, so hopefully that was a good enough one.
Okay. Yeah, I may have read one of these books because there's like 10 of them. So yeah, it does sound vaguely familiar. Something I might have read when I was like a teenager or something. But yeah, I can't give you more right now. Next one was Igor Pavic says, "What is your opinion on Mandalorian? Season 3 sucks." Yep, I think you've pretty much had your opinion in the course of this discussion.
I like that. What is your opinion on it sucking? It's like, well, it sucks.
Yeah, yep. Agreed all round. Brother Doom says, "Congrats on that Russell Crowe interview. Very cool. Thank you. That was very nice to speak to Russell." Bavarian Normie Pleb says, "Who's looking forward to Indy 5's premiere at Cannes? Standing ovations guaranteed." Yeah, that movie is going to bomb so fucking hard.
Just rock back and forth holding the trilogy. Just like, leave it alone. Leave it alone.
I just think if there's anything to be gained from it, it's just that it's going to have a wholesale rejection. I just don't think there's going to be anyone claiming that it's going to be good. And so, yeah, happy to sit back and watch it go down in flames. It's fine.
So
It will.
So
yeah.
we've decided that there's literally no hope it could be good. We're at that point now.
I think so. Like,
I
based on
honestly think
everything.
It's kind of getting fascinating. We're in a culture that hates like the new additions to the culture. How weird is that getting for like movies? And I'd say games are doing okay, but TV shows and movies are in trouble. They just seem to be like those comment sections on the trailers, man. Like no mercy, you know, for a lot of stuff anyway.
Well, the mindset is simultaneously hating previous generations of heroes and characters and franchises and stuff, but also needing to use them to leech off and to elevate whatever crap that you've made. And so it's this weird parasitic relationship that they have with it now. And of course, fans of the thing in general are going to be put off by that, because it's like, well, you're hating on the very thing that you're supposed to be using and building on. You know, there's not much to be gained there. And Indie's just another example of that. And I think from what we've heard about the sheer amount of reshoots that have had to be done on it, the cost of it initially, this is going to be like a $300 million movie, and it's not going to pull in anywhere near what it needs.
I think it's because what you've got is a lot of people that see the world in a very sort of physical plane, and so they don't understand essentially anything outside themselves, so they can't even appreciate abstract concepts like heroism or like what it means to be a good person or morality as a whole. And so all they see it as is you like The Matrix as an IP. They don't appreciate any of the messages that came through, any of the stories, any of the characters. All they see is, you want Matrix, we give you more Matrix. Why are you not happy with Matrix? And so you've got a lot of people that just see things on a very basic level, and they don't see the deeper meaning behind it. And I don't think they're even... Like, if you ask Jennifer Salke why people are angry with the Rings of Power, I don't think she'd even be able to tell you. Like, that you're actually offending Tolkien or going against this stuff. They're like, well, they wanted more Lord of the Rings. We gave them Lord of the Rings. What more could they want? And that's why I think this is a deeper problem than just people with no talent. I think they actually lack the capability to understand the problem in the first place.
Yeah,
the first Indiana Jones film, almost limitless and boundless in its scope for adventure. And now we're at a point where it feels so painfully constrained into just a bunch of tropes. So it's a real shrinking in that sense.
Everything is very basic, and it's based off the physical and essentially what one person can feel. And so they can't think of anything greater than themselves. It's just, I want this. It's like when Alonso got fired, you went into her other interviews, and she's like, well, I'm Latino, and I want to see a Latino, so we should put more Latinos in things. Like, everything that she talked about was about her and her own experience and everything within her, but she never spoke about anything greater than herself, any ideal greater than herself, any principle or thought or concept outside of herself. It was all about the individual itself. And I think you've replaced all of Hollywood with people like that who can't appreciate anything greater, or they're the center of the universe, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Taker610 says, Drinker. So, Russell, about Les Mis. Well, yeah.
I don't even think surely Love and Thunder's worse.
Yeah. God, it'd be interesting to get his thoughts on that if I'd had more time.
Yeah.
Josh says, Drinker, I've been catching up on Open Bar, Happy Hour, and MauLer's videos. I have the opener to the inevitable Star Wars 10 montage of sequel trilogy, followed by Luke waking up in a cold sweat. That would be nice, but yeah, if only they could get away with it. Mr. Greenbones says, Mario is projected to hit 141 million in the first weekend. Lightyear did like 220 million in its entire run. Strange Worlds and Turning Red did less than 100 million in their entire runs. Disney is on a DNR list. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Dude, they're having meetings. Loads of meetings. They're all
I hope so. I hope so, yeah. I hope they recognize how absolutely dire their situation is now.
I am way too invested in who's going to eat a pineapple pizza on Friday Night Tights. That seems like such a basic thing. I need to know. Is it going to make $1 billion or is it not? That's all I want to... Either way, someone's eating pineapple pizza and they're both going to hate it.
Who are the two people betting it?
Well, Jeremy thinks it's going to make $1 billion. And I think Comics Division says it's not.
Okay, all right.
I think those are the two.
So, what is it expected? 140 in the first weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, so whether it breaks $1 billion.
It's all going to be that first drop-off percentage, and we'll be able to guess pretty shortly after that.
Chat saying it's Odin who says it won't break $1 billion.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I said it would break $1 billion, so I'm curious now if it will be able to pull it off.
Because there's not a huge amount to compete with it over the next few weeks, is there?
I don't think that, like, surely the drop-off won't be anywhere near as bad as, like, fucking Ant-Man or anything, will it?
Well, the audience scores are good, so, yeah, like, I can't see it having a huge drop-off, because the word of mouth should be positive.
Yeah.
So I think its drop-off should be pretty contained. It should be all right.
It's Dungeons and Dragons that should be worrying, because this will just overtake it and cut it off at the knees.
I think so, yeah. Because it's not, like, Dungeons and Dragons, it's not a particularly, like, impactful or memorable movie. And yeah, okay, I know that Dungeons and Dragons as a gaming franchise has got, like, a bit of, you know, it's got a following, obviously, but it's not that big in a mainstream sense. And I just think the movie's not that big of a deal. So yeah, I can see it getting swallowed up by this for sure.
And the people that like Dungeons and Dragons often hate the company that owns it as well anyway. So it's not exactly a passionate fan base for popularity of... we really need to make this a success.
Cannon Folderall says, Hollywood drinker back at it. Great interview with Russell Crowe. So refreshing to hear an actor talking about researching a role to do a good job instead of some twat waffling on about how the performance saved lives. Cheers. Yeah, that was nice. I don't think Russell Crowe is ever going to...
It was funny shit. He was like, it was such a look.
It's when he talked about Cinderella, man. It's like he got multiple concussions and like fucked up his shoulder, and he's still like living with the arthritis that's resulted from that. It's like
honestly, it's crazy how much 28 minutes or whatever it was can add to like the respect of an actor. Just listening to what they cared about in their roles, you're like, oh shit, okay. Because I'll be honest with you, I haven't really heard much from Russell Crowe in individual interviews. I've always just known him as Russell Crowe. He's been around. I would have asked him about Quick and the Dead. That's such a very strange and specific movie. It's just be like, what was it like doing a Western?
Yeah.
Bit of a strange Western, but you know.
Yeah. It's still fun, actually, that movie.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah. Does Sharon Stone get her kit off in that?
She does in a scene. So this is really funny. Yeah. I watched it with a friend of mine and Fringy, and that scene, I remembered it, and I was waiting for it to come up, and it never did. And I was like, that's weird. And then I was like, I'll see if there's like deleted scenes. And I was like, oh, there are. And I introduced it to them. I was like, there are deleted scenes, by the way, if you want to see them. They're like, oh, what's in them? And I was like, well, Sharon Stone gets her tits out if you want to see it. Like, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, we can check out the deleted scenes. Sure. Why not?
If the question is, does Sharon Stone get a kid off with that, then there's a 50% chance the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah, I think they knew what they were getting when they brought her in.
I don't know if it's the director's cut that she gets him out on or not. I'm not sure what the difference is, but like I said, the version we watched, it wasn't in it. And I was like, oh, you guys have been cheated. I didn't mean to do that to you.
Joe Fab says, Drinker, who would you like to interview and why? Right now, I think it's going to be a toss-up between Nick Cage or Henry Cavill. Either of those guys I would love to talk to.
That'd be great.
Or Ryan Johnson, obviously, you know. Duck Dust FM says, still dumbfounded writing my review of the episode. If Lizzo wanted to show off her acting range, she could have played the planet and its ruler. Okay. Silk Crayfish says, I have a personal question. I'm 24, about to get my degree in physics. However, recently I've taken up writing as a hobby and I enjoy it more than... What's that?
More than physics?
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. It gets garbled there. Should I try writing as a career, or am I old? Am I too old? I don't know if I'll be any good. Thanks. Aww. Well, if you're 24, somehow I don't think you're too old to become an author.
I feel like that's pretty young. You're okay.
You've got plenty of time. My advice is pursue writing, but don't bank all your hopes on it, because it's a tough industry to break into, and it's even tougher to make.
That's a really, really difficult thing to advise on. Like, if your passion is with writing and yet your career is set to be a physicist or whatever, you're really going to need to talk to people who know your career prospects more intimately and what you're passionate about, because I would never want to say, like, go write stuff, sir. Screw the physicist line. Be careful. Just think about it real hard, because that's a tough one.
Yeah, I wrote four manuscripts that all got rejected before my first one got published when I was in my mid-30s. So it has to be a compulsion. And I also love the irony that he speculated about whether he should be a writer, and then his super chat became garbled and unintelligible.
I think that was maybe just
attention to that.
Yeah, I don't know if that was his fault or if it was just like the system fucking up somehow, but yeah. Mr. Esquire says, I don't know what the big deal is. I think Star Jones looked great in Mando. Hail Tyrone Magnus. Okay.
All right.
Don't know what that refers to. Sorry. Grayson Barnett says, everyone that worked on Mandalorian Season 3 should be put in a two-way retard petting zoo. They have to pet you back.
Okay. Two-way retard petting zoo.
I don't know.
I've not heard that one before. All right.
Sean Calloway. Yeah. Sean Calloway says, Star Trek, we got Stacey Abrams for the worst cameo ever. Star Wars, hold my beer. Yeah. Sounds about right.
I mean, Game of Thrones, Ed Sheeran. I mean, come on.
He wasn't in it for very long, though, you know? He probably died, so it's fine.
We can only hope. Confucius says, howdy gents, have either of you seen The Bear? Pretty decent with some interesting characters and competent plot. One season so far. I'd venture that you lads would enjoy. Just called The Bear.
Not
That's
seen it.
the cooking show. Some guy who reinvents his
Apparently
life
it's
as a chef, I think. Right, I could have that.
Yeah,
totally
young
wrong.
chef, fine dining. That's not what I thought it was when I googled it.
Yeah, I'm not
Comedy
sure.
drama.
Mick Plutonface says last week, I'm not very clear, SC, whether BO copied FF6 for Michelle Yeoh's character. Check out Abellio, who, like Echo, is a criminally undersubscribed YouTuber.
Oh.
Okay. The Gourd King says, it's hard not to imagine Disney writers' room as a human centipede and their Star Wars shows and movies as its digestive content.
Ew.
Oh, yeah.
I always loved that, the human centipede from South
Oh,
Park.
it's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
I believe in you, Cartman! Cuttlefish!
Oh shit, that's great.
George the Giant Slayer says, this is for $100. Thank you, man. Jeff Bezos' billion-dollar midlife crisis. Rings is officially dead. Hair plugs would have been much cheaper for him. And Mando was as painful as watching Lizzo in a G-string playing a flute. Drinker, are woke movies the evolution or an extinction event for Hollywood? All hail. I think it's a process. I think it's a process that's currently going through some changes now, and it could well be that we're seeing the beginning of the end of this garbage, because it's just failing. Every time they try it, it fails, and so the money's running out. And I think, as you said, MauLer, there's got to be meetings happening at Disney. They have got to have realised that the
Heads
the
are rolling.
extent. Yeah.
A lot
And
of
that's the
fingers
sign.
pointing, you know.
Yep. That's the sign that it's changing. Be interesting to see what happens over the next year or two.
You
Hey,
know,
George, hope
the
you're
interesting
well.
thing about Amazon is I don't think Amazon Studios would exist at this moment if Bezos was actually paying attention to it. Because Sulky has renewed a series for $175 million, which apparently should have been cancelled, but she was too scared to tell them no because they were making another series for her. They've got people working for them for $20 million a year that have produced no series over 3 years. And there's such a massive waste of money. And I don't think Bezos, who literally ran a company selling physical items, I think he would be more of a money man. Like, what have you made? What has that made
Yeah,
us?
good luck.
Okay, it's low. You're wrong.
Yeah.
I think this is more of a Hollywood ideal, that you've got a company which is in the Hollywood culture, which is also trying to run as a physical company, and there's a mismatch there of sorts. So you've simultaneously got them not having desks, but also to save money, which is a retail product, but also we really need respect, so we're going to overpay on talent just for the prestige of it, even if they don't make us anything. And I think it's that corporate clash. And if you had someone like Bezos, I don't think that they'd be in the problem they would. Be like, is this product making us money? Yes, no, it's out.
But isn't Bezos himself kind of ideologically driven? Like, has he not invested a shit ton of money in like ESG stuff? Like, wasn't his wife like a massive investor in a bunch of like woke
Yeah,
charities
and-
and stuff?
Now, the Peripheral did have an element of that because it was like the world's, like we've gone through an apocalypse event and it was because of like global warming and stuff. But the show as a whole, it wasn't really, it was more it's what created the universe rather than the core of the plot. And so there's a load of stories, like because it wasn't the push, I don't think he would have gained that much, even if that was his aim. And then you've got people like Waller-Bridge who sat there for $20 billion a year and didn't make anything. There's no gain for that at all from ESG or anything else. And so I think with a lot of these companies, if you had just had a money man in charge, they would be like, you're just not producing. Get out. They don't care about anything else. I want to know about your balance sheet.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to have that suspenders wearing, cigar chomping guy in the corner office who you go in and say, we're going to do Peter Pan, but there's going to be Lost Girls as well as Lost Boys. And then the guy puts down his cigar and says, kid, let me tell you how things really are. Then you act like-
That THR article, the most amazing thing for me is when they said that, I probably need it up to get the exact quote, but it was essentially the way they were actually rating series was off focus group. What does the audience think about it? And then they said that somebody was complaining because that tended to produce a load of white people going around shooting people with guns. Like, oh, they want action movies. Now, most people think the audience wants this. Give the audience what they want. Doesn't matter what I think. Doesn't matter about my principles. The audience wants it. We're going to give them it because that's what's going to make us money. And this guy complained. It's like, well, it's not my show. I'm not going to get renewed. And so this is actually biased. You're making stuff that I don't want. And so he got his renewal. And Amazon backed down and said, we're not going to listen to focus groups anymore. We're not going to listen to what the audience wants. It's insane.
We're going to give them what they need, not what they want.
Yeah. Exactly.
We know what's best.
But it was all from self-interest. He was only complaining because I want a second series for my show. And he got renewed because he complained. But meanwhile, you're costing the company. And I don't think a money man would ever let that happen. Like, I don't care what you want. These people don't want it. It's costing us money. Leave.
Well, I think I miss when Hollywood is just a cynical money-making machine. That was fine because, like you say, ultimately it would mean that they pursued the things which people wanted. They'd give customers what they want because that's how they make the most money. That's at some point over the past 10 years that's drastically changed.
Does feel like there'll be an autocorrection for that, no matter what. Eventually, money.
It's interesting.
Money,
Disparu, because like they don't want the focus groups at the front end of the project. But if the project's bombing, they want those focus groups to come in so they can do massive reshoots and try and salvage it. So they lose their kind of moral high ground at the back end of the project.
Yep. This is the best advice. Bring back the Coke.
Yes.
That's when things were better. I'll do one more just to finish up. Handsome Mushy says, rename the show The Book of Bo-Katan. Yep, I'd say, based on everything I've heard, that seems to be where it's headed, so
Garen,
why not?
fucking to you, there are people who are saying, it's called The Mandalorian. That doesn't mean it has to be about Mando. That can be about Bo-Katan. She's a Mandalorian.
That's it. That's the bait and switch. I love how they bait and switch with their original characters now. Like it's gotten to that stage.
Yeah, they bait and switch themselves.
Yeah. Oh, fuck it. Who cares? It's done anyway.
It's done anyway.
Yeah, it's a dead franchise. And speaking of things which are ending, well, this brings us pretty much to the end of this episode of Open Bar. And, well, I hope everyone's enjoyed our banter and our bullshit. And I want to say thank you to Disparu and Echo for coming on, guys. Much appreciated. And for our absent members, thanks to Tyrone and Jeremy for their awesome banter that they brought to the table as well. It's been great to have you all on board. And yeah, MauLer and I, as always, we will catch up on any super chats that we missed tonight. So if you sent us something, it will not be left behind. But yeah, we'll finish up there, I guess. So that's all we got for today. We're going to go away now.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.